Hey everyone, today is Thursday, the 22nd of April 2021. This is the GAP, episode 562. I'm Luke Lawrie, and this is my show. You've all been lied to last week, you see. Joab said that basically I was kicked off, but it turns out I'm the one with the keys to this castle, baby. I've got all the logons, I've got all the passwords, and without those, he can't do anything. So it's just me today. I've got two great games to talk about here. We've got Oddworld Soulstorm and Dead by Daylight, which, I mean, if we had someone else here, there might be a lot more to talk about, but unfortunately, it's just me. It's the Luke podcast now. We need a new name as well. I feel like.
Hang on. You can't change the name as well, okay? At least I was going to keep the name the same. God damn. Look.
What is this? Who's that? Who's talking? I've been hacked.
Glass Smash, Steve Austin music. Oh my God, it's Joab's music. I'm still here. Look, right, it was all a ruse. It wasn't a ruse. I mean, the truth is, right, fucking Kleb got me to play Apex Legends, and when Luke pointed out that he had, the keys to the castle, that he had, full control.
Yep.
I realized that really Kleb's addition, what Kleb brought to the podcast, which was getting me to play Apex Legends again, which I won some games in, but I didn't have a fantastic time in. It was about the same as Luke. So I'm like, it's probably easier if we just go back to Luke, the Luke show. I'm fine with it. You know,
I can't believe you kicked me off last week and then made me edit the podcast too. That is
I thought it was a baller move, but in retrospect, it was what they call in bird culture a dick move. Hey, tell me, how many hours of Outriders have you played since you were last on the podcast?
A couple, not a whole lot, because I think I don't even...
Because it's trash? Because it's a shit game and nobody's playing it anymore, and you're like, oh yeah.
No, I did play more. I played, I finished the game and then did some of the end game expedition content. I haven't played it since, I think, the first big patch that they put out.
Right.
Yeah, because I literally have I got back like last night.
Any excuse, eh? It's bleeding players, it's doing well. Down 100,000 players from its all-time peak, so it's that's good.
Well, I mean, it's not a live service game. We've talked about this. It's
not like it had hundreds of thousands of players in the first place. So
yeah, well, people were playing it. That's not bad.
Yep. Sure.
Anyway.
Anyway, I thought we would kick this week off with an interview I did with the team behind Boomerang X, which is a new game coming out from Dang. You got to say it like that because it's got an exclamation mark.
Yep.
On the end of the name, so you got to say Dang. And I spoke to Sam and Ben, who sort of had the genesis of the idea about Boomerang X. It's about 20 minutes. It's a really good chat, just talking through, how they took it from a game jam idea all the way through to a full project. And I had a lot of fun talking to them. So I thought we would chuck that in here. And then we will talk about Boomerang X. And I should mention that we can't put this podcast up until after the embargo, which is like midnight tonight, by the way.
Easy.
My time. Let's go to that. Ben and Sam from Dang.
My name is Sam Sweet. I am one of two programmers and the technical artist on a video game called Boomerang X, developed by our company Dang, with an exclamation mark. Currently being published by Devolver. It's first-person boomerang throwing kind of acrobatic nightmare. Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I do. I'm also working on Boomerang X. I'm Ben Calkins, and I'm a 3D artist / animator, and also the music and sound guy on the project.
Awesome. And yeah, I'm Joab, like Doug was saying. Guys, I think the easiest way to jump into it is why don't we talk about how you the idea for Boomerang X came about? Like, how do I understand it was originally a game jam?
Oh, how did you know? What game is not from a game jam game originally? I'll tell you. I'm so glad you asked. So the gestation of this game is actually it's been in the making for a lot longer than we've been working on it properly. It was, what was it? It was the summer of 2017, I think.
Yeah, 2017.
Me and Sam and the rest of the Dang gang were doing a different project at the time, and we got really sick of it, so we abandoned it. And then me and Sam decided to do this game jam hosted by Mark Brown, the GMTK game jam. I think it was the first one, and the prompt was dual purpose design. So we were just throwing the ball around, and I think it came out of thin air. It was what if there's a boomerang, and when you throw it, you can click again, and you'll teleport to it. And that was it. We were all right, let's do that. And then we tried to banged out some of the other details, what do the enemies look like? Sam brought in some inspiration from Devil Daggers, enemies are one-hit kills, but there's a lot of them, and it's going to be wave-based gameplay in an arena. So we did the game jam, we lost, which is really sad.
You know what? We won in our hearts, and
we won in our hearts.
I think the important thing is that the game is cool to us. So
yeah, exactly. When I saw that we got no mention, I stood up on the couch.
Ben stood up on the couch.
I couldn't believe it.
You walked up onto the table and onto a shelf, jumped up and down.
I did 500 jumping jacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, the real winning is the friends you make along the way, right?
Absolutely.
A long-lasting collaboration. But yeah,
we liked it. Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, we loved it.
It was pretty fun to make, and we showed it off. We were college students at the time, so we showed it off at our sort of local school game festival, and people seemed to dig it. So, 2 years later, we started actually working on it as a real game.
Was it? I guess it was 2.5 right? More. It must have been 2.5, maybe a little bit more, because from when we graduated, we started working on a different project, but that sort of didn't go anywhere, and maybe I think it was almost 2 years passed from then to us canning that project and saying, okay, let's actually take Boomerang X and turn that into something a little bit more fleshed out, and that was almost 2 years ago. And now we're coming to the end of the project. It's actually been going pretty well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's, I think, a big learning process. Lots of sort of prototypes and failed things along the way, but I think, I'm super, super happy with what we have.
Yeah, excellent. So what do you think what was that one piece that you feel turned it from, you said earlier, turned it into a real game. What was that one piece, do you think, that turned it into a real game? Was it just the genesis of the idea to do that, or was there some element in the game that you feel needed to happen before you felt like it was that, or what do you think?
I think if there was one mechanic that the Game Jam version didn't have that the real version really needed, it was sort of momentum. In the Game Jam version, you throw your boomerang and you sort of zip to it right away, and you just sort of stop in the air, which was cool. And that demo version is still up. People want to try it. It's fine. But the thing that's fun now is you throw it and you kind of maintain your momentum as you go in that direction. So you can you get more sort of moving arcs of just motion. Feels very satisfying. I think it kind of wouldn't work without that.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like there's a little bit more to the secret sauce of what was the foundation of it sort of being able to get extrapolated on, which is it was something that a guy who actually went to the same college we went to said that I heard at at PAX East. He said, what did he say? He said if your most basic form of the idea is really cool, whatever you do, you don't have to change the fundamentals. You're just making it better. And I kind of feel like the Game Jam version had that fundamental idea that worked really well, which is that you can fly in a really unconventional way. And everything we've done is just making that better, more accessible, feel better to a player. I feel like just that core DNA, though, I feel like that was largely there from the start, and everything we've done is just sort of build on that idea to make it more palatable and better for people to interface with.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what's so great about making full games out of Game Jam games is that to get a Game Jam game working at all, it has to be super simple and like very, like a tight little idea, and then you can kind of build on that infinitely. It's sort of like to make a Game Jam game at all, it has to be like pretty scalable, I guess is maybe the way to put it. So it works pretty well to expand most Game Jam games that way. You can kind of get something feeling really nice right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's like, if you could sort of just build on it forever, you have to call it at some point. Is there anything that you had to, just cut right at the end here?
Joab.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. We could be doing this for 10 more years if we had to.
All right, which cut hurts the most then in your soul?
Oh, secret stuff, I think. Things that you don't just find by playing the game the normal way. By secret stuff, I don't mean like stuff we can't tell you. I mean, maybe we can't. I'm not sure what the rules are, but like stuff that would be like a secret to someone just playing the game. Like in Dark Souls, there's hidden walls and hidden bosses and hidden areas. And we had one idea for a hidden boss, and we realized that we really can't afford with we have a very tight schedule. So we realized we couldn't afford to do anything that we didn't think everyone was going to see, which really hurt because we thought it would be really cool.
Yep.
Like we had an idea for a secret final boss, and now that final boss is just the regular final boss of the game. And we were going to have a fake final boss, like a fake out, like, we're going to trick you into thinking this is the real final boss, but we didn't do that.
Yeah, it would have been cool, but I mean, honestly, I don't know. I really like the way it flows right now. It's like pretty good to have that. I don't know. It's like you can really like, if you're just focusing on one ending, you can like really tune the crescendo in a way that feels really nice, and I think it's pretty solid. So no spoilers. But.
No spoilers.
You mentioned Devil Daggers before. If that game is Quake, from my experience with Boomerang X, it's a bit more like Tribes, right? Like, especially with the conservation of momentum and the speed and...
Joab, thank God. I'm so happy you mentioned Tribes. You were the first person who's mentioned Tribes. Thank you so much.
Wow, I didn't know you felt so strongly.
People talk about this movie Krull and Devil Daggers so much, and I just want one person to mention Tribes because that game was so much my bread and butter in high school, and I was definitely thinking about it when we were making this. I feel like the difference is in Tribes you're like sort of skating on the ground.
Yeah. Whereas
this is sort of you get the same feeling but just uninhibited and you're in the air and flying around. But yeah, for me, Tribes is I'm the only person in the world who's played Tribes. Me and you, Joe, are the only two people.
Yeah. One of us had to play at about 500 ping. So
right.
What is it about like that sort of feeling of momentum and movement that you think like captures the imagination of players? Because it certainly isn't in every game.
Yeah, good question. Oh man.
I mean, I definitely think that. Sam, if you've got an answer.
I don't. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I think you and I have like sort of a shared love for like Mirror's Edge. Stuff that's very sort of, it's not about a secondary goal. It's just the motion itself is supposed to feel good. And that's kind of why I think we were so into the idea is that even without fighting enemies, it just feels cool to move around. Like the aesthetic of the motion is really pretty interesting and engaging. Like I've played the hell out of Mirror's Edge. I love that game. And again, another thing, if we'd had more time, it would have been cool to just explore like the non-combat uses of the boomerang, like just moving through a space or solving some sort of 3D environment puzzle with it. That would have been really neat. But
it's pretty interesting.
I think it's a very it's sort of a very liberating mechanic.
I think it's sort of if you're gonna make a game that's this simple. I think the game, in terms of gameplay systems, is not very complicated. There's not a ton going on, and Devil Daggers is the same way to like an absurd degree, right? I think those kinds of games really, really live and die on feel. It has to feel like just really, really good to be touching the controller. You know what I mean? Like if that doesn't work, the whole thing crumbles. And if for some other stuff it doesn't, whatever, I don't know, like base building games or something don't need that so much, but FPS games really do. I think you kind of need like some, that Titanfall thing where it's like it just feels good.
You don't got to think to do something. You want something to happen, it just happens. I want to wall climb, I'm wall running, I'm wall running. Don't even have to think about it.
And that skill floor to skill ceiling thing, right? Like, with Titanfall, you start off and maybe you can wall run, and then by the end of it, you're swinging from wall to wall and like grapple hooking everywhere, and you're trying to get out of the map and all this kind of shit.
Oh,
you
for
feel
sure.
Like a fucking
yeah,
ninja god.
We can say fuck on this podcast.
Oh, fuck.
This is one of those podcasts, huh?
Okay, great.
But, I mean, you're totally right. Like, I mean, we've been playing Boomerang X for so long that we forget what it looks like when we see someone who's never played it play it. Like, it's really a different sort of way of, like, interacting and moving through a space. And it just reminds us of how much room there is from when you start to how good you can get, and the potential of the idea in terms of how maneuverable you're able to make yourself become. You become the air ninja. We want you to become the air ninja by the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's got a really interesting like curve as well. You've done a really good job with sort of
Thank you.
breadcrumbing players. Well, I mean, I felt like it worked well for me. I don't know how other people are going to go, but I do think that you've done a really good job. It starts out really, introduces the basics, and then suddenly you're all over the place, flinging yourself from here to there. One thing I noticed, you got the ability to slow down time.
Yeah.
If you instead remove the temporality of that and just halted your momentum, you could put two people in the same room with the same power.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Which of you two would win in that fight?
Oh man, probably.
Well, I play tennis, so I might give myself. That requires some sort of reaction time, right?
I think you would win. Ben, I think, has played more than I have.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I think I've
That's
played
totally true.
probably just under. I'm gonna guess 3,000 hours.
I have. If I just look on Steam, I have 1,300 hours on Steam logged. So that's pretty absurd. But
that is huge.
It's, yeah.
And that's only since we started having Steam tracking too, I guess.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, it is so hard too to figure out that. I don't know, like figuring out difficulty, figuring out that skill ceiling stuff is like so complicated. Yeah, it's really it's trickier than you might think.
Was there anything you looked at that helped you along the way, like helped you get there in the end, or did you sort of?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I think that me and Sam, again, I think we have sort of like we've geeked out a lot over like the Valve dev commentaries and how they've sort of revealed their process for tutorializing. That's another one of those things that if we'd had more time, like there's a lot I think we could have done better in our tutorial, but because we didn't have a lot of time, we had to sort of rush the way things are introduced to you. But we did sort of try to treat it like, okay, we give you one thing, we give you just some amount of time to get used to it before then we give you the next thing. Like in the first arena, all we've done is given you the boomerang and told you that if you charge it, it'll throw farther. And nothing else. We don't really tell you anything else beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it works okay. It's hopefully people will it'll be good enough that people will get it. But it's not at the level of like Portal, where the whole game is like so geniusly the tutorial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess it's a question to audiences as well, right? Your audience isn't the Portal audience necessarily. You are I
That's
mean,
probably
obviously, you'd love for it to to have the
Oh,
same
yeah.
reach.
Oh, sure.
But
yeah,
yeah,
fingers crossed, I guess.
I guess it has more to do with like the lessons of like that game are I would say are pretty universal in terms of how they teach people stuff, which is like here's a mechanic. I'm going to tell you only about this one mechanic, and then you have as much time as our 5 years of playtesting will tell us you need for you to figure it out before then we can move on to telling you about the next thing. So you don't even notice that
Yeah,
you've
we're
had
just
to learn
geeking out
something
about
new.
Portal, I guess.
Yeah, now we're just talking about Portal.
did you see
I'm
Portal
going to
Reloaded
contrast
came out?
that.
Did you see that shit? Oh,
Which
you
one?
were
What?
too
Did you say
busy.
came out?
But Portal Reloaded came out, which is
I don't even know what that is.
They took Portal and they added a third portal, which is the
Oh my god. Is this a
Time
mod?
portal. Yeah, but it's
That's
officially
awesome.
released this week. And so
I
you've got, like,
gotta check that out.
you got to think
Okay,
in
cool.
4 dimensions. It is a brain wrinkler.
I'm looking at a picture. This is the jankiest looking shit. This is a green square between
yeah.
two portals.
It's ugly.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
But
awesome.
But the puzzles are fantastic.
Oh,
I'd check this out.
yeah, I'll play that.
So you guys got what 4,300 hours in Boomerang X, conservatively speaking.
Something like that.
Yeah, 1 billion probably.
Somewhere around there.
Have you guys thrown real boomerangs very much?
I've thrown one boomerang, I think, when I was like 13.
Okay.
You know, I used to have a boomerang that was semi-similar to the one in the game. It was made of foam.
Yeah. Like one
And it
of
was
those
shaped like an
ones,
X, right?
Yeah, it was X-shaped.
Yeah.
It was one of those. Yeah. So I don't know if that actually influenced the design in any way.
No.
But
I mean, I could
I
tell
don't
you for me, it definitely did. I mean, when we were doing the Game Jam game, when anyone's doing any game jam, you have to sort of make decisions on your own. So like, I was like, it shouldn't just look like a regular boomerang because it's a crazy boomerang. And I was like, I remember all the boomerangs you find at Walmart are like shaped like an X. That's a crazy boomerang.
That's
It's gonna be an action. The original Game Jam game literally looks like that, like
Yeah, it
that
looks almost
soft
exactly like
plushy
the-
toy.
yeah. I was terrible with those things too. You throw it into the wall and then you're like, well, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right, you're supposed to throw it. Growing up in Australia, we used to play, we'd throw boomerangs about once a year whenever our PE teacher was extremely hungover. They'd just crack out the boomerangs and we'd go out and throw them in the field. And it takes some doing getting it to come back. I think, those X ones, actually, they're easier to come back than the traditional U shape, or would it be a U? An upside
Oh,
down
sure.
U?
That makes sense. Probably the aerodynamics of that are like...
Right? Like, they've
Makes more
crafted
sense.
that shit beautifully
Yeah.
to make it.
Well, we really captured
return.
the essence of being inhumanly good at throwing a boomerang.
That's true. You cannot fuck it up in the game.
You cannot mess it up, and that is what it's like if you're really good at throwing a boomerang.
That is
Yeah.
exactly it. That's the pro level boomerang shit. Have you gotten onto Devolver to make boomerangs yet? Like some X
Oh,
boomerangs?
That would
Like,
be
just
cool.
fucking throw the
Someone
elbow
brought
out?
that up.
like-
Somebody was...
We don't have to pay for it.
Right? Right? That's Devolver stuff, right? Come on.
Sure.
Do
Yeah,
it.
who-
Just do it because you want it. Do it because you want to do it.
If any of our fans, any of our many fans want to send us pictures of homemade boomerangs that they created with their own money, I would love to see it.
And giant caterpillars that they can talk to.
Exactly.
Or something.
Yeah.
Job, I think you may have played this game.
A little bit, which the amount I've played means that I can't put this up until after the preview embargo, but I have played it. I'm having a ball with it. I think the only thing I feel like is missing is what you were talking about before, those puzzle platforming levels. I wish it might be my favorite thing in games that doesn't involve multiplayer shooting. It's puzzle platforming. I absolutely adore it. But I was wondering, were you guys planning on like opening it up to, I guess, like level design, like custom created level design or anything like that, or is that too a bridge
Oh
too
my god,
far.
that would be so cool.
I mean, if people could just, we were just like, hey, do it, and we don't have to do anything, then sure.
Well, it's true. I think it's just a matter of implementation. It would be pretty tricky to get that to work. But I would love it. If we could just snap our fingers and make this game like super moddable. Oh my god, I would love to see what people come up with.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, there's... Oh, sorry.
No, you go. I was...
Just like the ceiling on things that like would be so cool to have that I know people are going to play the game and say, "Wow, why don't they have this?" And I'm going to go, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm crying because I know we wanted it to, but we couldn't do it because we didn't want to work on the game anymore." We got so tired. But yeah, like, I mean, that is actually something I don't think we ever had thought about, was like sort of map makers a la Halo style. I don't even know how we would do that. It's so hard to make these maps without having to make tools for it. I don't know how we do it. Maybe we could figure something out down the line.
I would love to. Yeah, maybe we'll figure something out.
Well,
You've just given us an idea. We're going to give you 0%, by the way.
yes.
If we ever do anything.
Wow. Great.
Look, as long as I get the 100% of all merch, I'm fine.
Of course. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
You got one piece of merch guaranteed that I know. We're doing a vinyl release, but other than that, we'll see. If there's a demand, we'll get that those boomerangs off the assembly line that actually work.
Yeah, Ben is not
just like the one in the game.
Ben will be modest about this, but the music is very good. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a fantastic soundtrack.
Well, thank you.
I don't spend a lot of time with music on in games because, like I was saying, multiplayer shooters, you turn it all off. But I love it when it matches the feeling that you want out of what you're doing in the game, and yeah, it does marry really well.
Oh, glad to hear it. Thank you.
It's pretty sweet. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on behind the scenes, making sure it like all feels
that classic dynamic wise shit.
Dynamic, yeah, exactly.
Another question I did have was normally in kill chamber games, you have to kill everyone before you move on.
Yes,
but you don't have to kill everyone in Boomerang X. I think it's a fantastic change. What led to that decision?
I can tell you exactly what led to that decision. I think I may have brought this up based on my experiences with Doom 2016, which is a great game, and I really, really like that and Doom Eternal a lot. But I remember there were a lot of moments where you'd be near the end of a fight, and there'd be a couple of enemies left, and because you target your biggest priorities first, all that's left is sort of like the middling enemies, and if the space is really big, you actually are spending time having to figure out where they are rather than feeling this tension of, like, am I going to make it to the end? It's just sort of like I'm cleaning up the scraps at the end of the fight. And the music's still going like, dur, 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 dur.
Yeah.
But the momentum in the gameplay isn't there. So us having enemies that you actually have to kill and some that you can just leave hanging out means that when you get down to the end of a wave, there will still be enemies in the arena because you haven't had to actually go through and mop them all up.
Yo.
So there's still that continued momentum through to the end of a wave.
And that's that danger and that, you know, the general presence of terror that occurs.
yeah, exactly.
No, I am 1000% in agreement with you about. I wrote the review for IGN of Doom 2016.
Oh, no kidding.
And
great. That's awesome.
I wrote in that review that was one of my least favorite things about the kill chamber design. So
cool.
Yeah, I was
well, there you go.
thrilled when I was like, I think it finally clicked when I was bouncing around one of the levels that, when there's only one or two left, they highlight in yellow, right? And you can directly find them, but there's still so much going on around you, and you're like, oh shit, okay, well, I just need to get that guy. I've got one blip of health left, because I've been, I just found the poison guys, and they were a little tougher than I was expecting. They didn't die like everyone else immediately. So I better get straight to that shit as opposed to fucking about for a little bit longer. And no, it was fantastic. Like those moments of games where like that one thing dawns on you and you realize something and it levels up your experience, levels up your game.
Oh.
Like it's fantastic, especially in these sorts of games where it is about mastery. It is about being better at all times. And I think, yeah, you guys have just nailed it. Done such a good job.
Thank you so much. Well, that's very flattering.
But yeah, that's actually all the questions I've got. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, guys. Good luck with the launch. I'm excited to play the full thing. I don't know how much further I can go in the version of the game that I've got, but I might wait till it's fully out so I can play it all at once from scratch. But yeah, it's fantastic. Cool. And yeah, well done on making a fantastic experience.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. It's been great.
It was fun.
Alrighty. So that was Ben and Sam, and obviously me, and no Luke. But yeah, it was good chat. Boomerang X, it's out. Like, you're able to preview. Oh, well, I was able to preview it. You can play a demo of it though, if you want to check it out. It's a really compelling execution of their basic idea, which they explained in that interview. But in case you skipped over it, the idea was, what if you threw the boomerang and it would come back to you, but you could also return to the boomerang.
Oh, like a grapple.
And so, pretty much. One of the other things they talked about was the challenge of adding momentum and maintaining momentum, and what that does to the gameplay and stuff. And it's a really good execution of the concept. They talked about a bunch of games that sort of inspired them, like Devil Daggers. We talked about Tribes and stuff, but it does give me that Tribes feeling. That's what I really like about it. Is that, like, I get this really deep nostalgic feeling of Tribes. When you got really fucking good at skiing and you would all belt into. I remember playing right when Game Arena shut down. I remember we were all playing Tribes Ascend together a lot right before Hi-Rez shit the bed with it and started making it pay to win. I remember, I think it was you and me and Junglist and a couple other people were all like well into it, and like we had this fantastic ability, like this system at play where we were just super capable of like chaining together skiing. And so we'd play a Cap the Flag, and it would just be this blitz. Like, once you got up to speed, you just scoot in, grab the flag, scoot straight out again. And it didn't matter if, like, we wound up playing against high level players, and they would be able to cap you at speed, and someone else, Jung, had come in, or you'd come in and pick up the fucking flag, and the returns would be fucking out of control. And it was fantastic. And Boomerang X isn't quite at that same speed, but it does have that same momentum and mastery of mobility that I really enjoy. And so it's really triggering that nostalgia vibe for me. We did talk about it a bit in the interview, that my biggest wish, and they're a 5-person team, so they have to draw the line somewhere. But my biggest wish is that it had, like, at the start, at this point, like on a release, it'll be a game where you move and you use these powers in kill chambers. But what I wish it had was puzzle platforming between the kill chambers. That's what I wish it had. That would be the icing on the cake for it. But even without it, it's still it's almost that Doom Eternal style puzzle combat, except without the ammo, like without the resource management that I think turned a lot of people off Doom Eternal, or not a lot of people, turned some people off Doom Eternal. That was one of those cases where you had to be thinking in Doom Eternal's terms to really master that shit. Whereas the slow ramp that Boomerang X has. So basically, you throw a boomerang out, you teleport to it, but you maintain your momentum in that direction. As you go on, you slowly acquire more skills.
Yeah.
Extra skills like a burst that can take out a bunch of enemies at once, or like a super attack that can you can just like normally you have to charge up your boomerang to throw it out really far, but you can sort of just do it really quick in a straight line. It'll take out like basically everything in a line, and you've got these abilities that you sort of put together as you go through that really like empowers you and enables you. Like everything dies in one shot,
Yeah.
but the way you find that shot, that's the essence of the game, and I think it works really well. Yeah, having a lot of fun with it. I haven't finished it yet. I'm not allowed to. The details in the embargo were like, don't go beyond this level. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to, like, I think I could continue to play, but
Yeah.
I also think that if I did, I would wind up talking about shit in those later levels, because I
You forget.
always fucking do on this podcast, and then Luke has to go and fucking edit shit. But no, it's yeah. If you like that sort of like idea, that concept. The other thing is, and we talked about it in the interview.
It was originally it was a clicker game to start with.
The ultimate clicker game. No, we talked about they've got this system where you only have to kill. You don't have to kill everything in the kill chamber to move on to the next round or wave. You only have to kill the enemies marked with a yellow beacon.
Right.
And we talked about it. And the genesis of that idea came from playing Doom 2016 and getting really bored with the kill chambers, which I don't know. I've been told many a time that Doom 2016 was flawless and couldn't be improved upon. And I do remember reading a review that specifically mentioned that as a sticking point for Doom 2016. Oh, it was my review. Anyway,
I remember reading an interview with the game director of that game very recently, saying that Doom 2016 wasn't a perfect game for combat as well, despite what he said previously.
At one point he said that if you were bad at shooters, you would just gravitate to one weapon. And then he changed his tune recently, and he said that if you were really good at shooters, you would find that one weapon
and exploit the game.
And exploit the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway,
I want to mention Ghost Runner. Did you ever get a chance to play that?
No, I've got it downloaded, and I think I keep forgetting to jump in. But
just check that out. That's I mean, the things you're talking about right now, like puzzle platforming, one-shot kills, like kill chambers. That's that game. It's these puzzly sort of chambers. You've got to work together with the platforming aspect, and everything dies in one shot, and it slowly gives you new powers and new types of enemies. And then going from like one kill chamber to the next, there's all these wall running and double jumping and grappling. And I thought that was really good. I saw that game. I feel like I got an email about it recently saying they were doing like some DLC or something like that.
Yeah, I'll give it a look, because it's definitely, I've got the feeling for that sort of game again. I remember playing the demo of Ghost Runner, and I think I don't know why I didn't wind up playing. I think you played it at a time when something else was going.
I think it was
no,
busy.
I was playing. It wasn't busy. I was playing Jedi Fallen Order, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. And then, but I like forgot after I finished Jedi Fallen Order. Which, by the way, if you're listening, you should just play on easy. Just play it on easy.
I mean, I said this. You said it was the best game ever made, and then I showed you a video, and you were like, actually, Luke's right once again.
Get the fuck out of here.
The combat's bad.
Get the
combat's not bad.
God,
combat was not.
Kick you off the fucking podcast.
Wasn't up to the levels. All right, cool, good interview. I'll have to go listen to that one because I've not listened to anything. I've been basically been away. I didn't put this down here, but so like last month we got our COVID vaccinations and decided to go on a holiday because we've been stuck inside. Well, I've been stuck inside for the better part of a year now. And so we went on a road trip around parts of America. Basically started off in California, went to like Southern California, across to Arizona, went to like Navajo Nation, up to Utah, across to Nevada, very briefly. Like we didn't stay there. We kind of just went past like Area 51 and to some very gimmicky shops down there. Where like people were sitting behind us talking about their UFO experiences and sharing videos and things like that, and it was good.
That's awesome.
It was excellent.
That is awesome.
And then back
Did you join in? Did you tell them your own?
We were sitting there. No, we were just sitting there listening. It was very good.
I was in a jungle. And this dude, my teammate, he was really my handler. He gets his arm shot off, and it just keeps firing as it falls to the ground. It was ridiculous.
You can see them up in the trees. Yeah. And then from there, we went to back into California to Death Valley and stayed in the desert for 2 days. So anyway, that was basically
like doing shrooms and shit, ayahuasca and DMT, and looking up at the stars and being like, "Wow, look at the size of this universe." Yeah,
bit of that.
Or in a caravan chasing after a fly. I don't know. I only know of Death Valley from TV shows.
Yeah.
And that's what people do in them. They either do shrooms, or there's that one episode. No, that's not even Death Valley. It's just general New Mexico, isn't it? Fuck.
Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Whatever. Whatever.
So we were in Death Valley, drove around there a bit because that's where they filmed some of the Star Wars Tatooine stuff. Anyway, on the way back, we were driving home yesterday. We were in just like south of California. We were driving down this road. It was just like a highway that joins from one place to another. It was not a lot of cars there. And we hear this noise above us, and then all of a sudden this fucking jet like flies right like next to our car, and off it goes. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty interesting. So it was either from like, because there's the Area 51 air base is near there. So they must do like testing around those areas, because the day before we were out hiking and looking around and things like that, and we could hear jets flying around then as well. But anyway, like 10 minutes goes by, and like I said, there's not a lot of cars on this road at all. It's like every once in a while a car goes past you. And then we hear another noise. This one is much louder. And it goes, and we're on a straight road, and it goes directly like over the top of us. And then like fucking this jet just turns and darts off to somewhere else. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, I feel like they're practicing bombing our car at this stage, because or they're like testing, like, or just like, oh, let's just fucking fly over this car. Why not?
Yeah,
sounds like fun.
Let's fucking boom these
let's just show off.
Go for a fucking drive.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do they necessarily have to be near, like from a base nearby? They could be like from it. The range on those jets, right? They could be from fucking half a country away.
They could be, but you'd think that they'd be
your entire, like, the distance you traveled over the course of however many days. They could do it in like fucking half an hour or some shit, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, it just happened to be that we were close to a US airbase, so I figured it was probably
right.
that. Anyway, so
maybe they weren't allowed to buzz the tower back on the base, and they're like, oh, I'm going to buzz this car instead.
Yeah, fly right over the top of it. Like, there was no need to. We're the only fucking car around. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do this.
How did you not record this?
Well, because by the time it like goes over the top of your car and then leaves, it's fucking gone. Like,
Yeah.
it's out of there. So we didn't get a chance. Like, we could sort of see it off in the distance turning around, and we were thinking maybe it'll come back. And my wife had her like camera out, her phone, but it didn't do a second loop. I think we got destroyed at that stage. They were looking for another target to hit. Anyway,
was it shaped like a plane? Was it sort of like a
cylinder?
sausage
Yeah.
shape? Oh, a cylinder. Oh shit! The cigar type.
Yeah.
I think that's rare. You should go back to Roswell to let them know.
Tell those guys. Yeah. Anyway, so I haven't played a lot of games. There is some stuff on here I may briefly mention. Listen to some audio podcasts or audio books. The first one we kicked off with was The Sandman. It's obviously a really highly rated audiobook. It's a graphic novel written by Neil Gaiman many years ago, and has been adapted recently to an audiobook that has like an amazing cast on it. Like, it's ridiculous. It's got like James McAvoy, Kat Dennings, Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, Kat Dennings,
some dude who sounds like, I thought it was like Sean Bean or something, or like Liam Neeson at the start. Oh, that could have been something else. Anyway, and it's not. It wasn't. So we listened to that. That I think is a very impenetrable audiobook to listen to for somebody that's not read the graphic novel, because it just jumps around so much in terms of what is going on in that book and like where you are in any given moment. Because like even at the start of that book, the first chapter, it goes through like decades of like time jumps, and you're introduced to so many characters, and some chapters just aren't with the main character, and you don't get back to that main character for like a couple hours later. And it's just there are definitely chapters in there that are very good, and you get right into it, and there's others that are just like, I have no idea what is going on, because I can't picture it in my head, like where we are, who we're talking to. Like, have we gone back in time now, or is this like is it a flashback? Or are we going forward? Or like, it's very hard. Like, even my wife turned to me a couple hours and was like, "Do you understand what is going on?" I'm like, I have no idea what is happening, but we still listened to it because we thought it was very good. Like certain parts of it, it was well produced. So anyway, I think she wants to buy the actual book and read it, because it's got some very interesting themes and moments in there. The other one that we listened to was Neverwhere, which is also a Neil Gaiman story. I don't even know what it is. I haven't looked it up at this stage, if it was another book. But this one was also starring James McAvoy. So James McAvoy was the Sandman in the Sandman novel and audiobook. And I think Neverwhere was maybe done before Sandman. Like, the production doesn't sound as
it definitely was
recent. That one was excellent. Like, it's so, because it's a story that's got a beginning point and an end point, and it's told in chronological order, much easier to sort of digest. And it's really good. So we enjoyed that one a lot more. And then the last one we listened to was Ender's Game, which is a classic, like 1980s book.
Orson Scott Card. It is classic sci-fi.
Yeah. That one as well, man. Really good as an audiobook. It's very easy to follow along with. The story is for like a story that was written, 35 years ago, 40 years ago nearly. The stuff that is in that is really interesting and well done. And have you seen the movie at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's on my rewatch list at this point, because my wife hasn't seen it, and I'm interested to go back and watch it again. I don't think it was a bad film. I just don't think it didn't like blow anybody away. But like, there's really interesting like, that's for me like not a memorable movie. Like, if you told me about scenes in that movie, I would not be able to tell you what happened. But listening to this audiobook, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this stuff in the film. Like, it's really the way that they tell and sort of describe what is happening is just like so well done, because you get in your mind how this like simulation game is playing out and the rules of it and how it all works. So yeah, I thought it was an excellent book. And then apparently he went on to make like he just went stupid after that. I think he made like 14 of them, and they kept going.
I read the next one, and is
Shadow Dead
Is it
Speaker,
Shadow?
Speaker of the
Speaking
Dead.
to the Dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
Speaker of the Dead. That's the one I read. But I didn't care much for it. So.
Yeah, well, we started listening to that one because we downloaded it as soon as we finished. And we're like, yeah, let's keep going. And got a couple hours in. I'm like, let's put some music on because I'm just not into this at all. And I think mainly because it jumps around with different characters. And I'm just like, I'm not invested in these characters. Like I've just listened to like 14 hours of getting to know this like 6-year-old to 12-year-old kid, and all the people around him. And now we're on like 3,000 years in the future and it's someone else. And I'm like, it's not like, I'm good. Thank you. And they're talking about like, at least the story about like being this military and like training kids to be commanders, like is really interesting. And the themes of the next one, like we're talking about like zoology and things. And I'm just like, not interested in whatever is happening there. But
cool.
That's all we really had time to. Yeah, we gave up till we were home by then.
Luke asked me for a list of great audiobooks to listen to, and I gave him a huge list, and he listened to literally none of them. So, yeah, good, great.
You know why?
Fantastic.
Because we'd already bought the other ones, and by the time we got to like we didn't have enough time for the next lot, so that was it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway, unbelievable. You could at least listen to Minecraft. I don't think that one's long. I'm pretty sure that one's like 8 hours, right?
Yeah. You don't think that's long?
Not for a fucking audiobook. My current fucking the audiobook I'm currently listening to is 65 hours long. So there's like a baseline here that I'm going off.
Right.
Anyway, I'm listening to the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is pretty interesting. But I don't usually go in for nonfiction, but this one is pretty good. It's pretty depressing.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. So books.
Yep.
You done anything else? You watched any movies? I watched Nobody on the weekend.
All right. Yeah. How did you watch that? Did you go out and see it somewhere?
I'm going out to go see Mortal Kombat tonight. In fact,
nice.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I've heard it's okay. For a Mortal Kombat film.
I'm tempering my expectations.
Yeah.
And I will be tempered with alcohol. So
Nobody is on streaming. That's good. I thought it was only out on cinema over here, but apparently not.
Cinema. Yeah, I said this in the spoiler chat on our Discord, but actually I just realized I said it in spoiler chat because it's all spoilers. Anyway, I liked it. I thought it was fun, but I had some issues with it. Yeah, it's like John Wick, but not as good.
Yeah,
not as good as John Wick.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard barrier to get through.
Very true. That's all.
No, I haven't watched. Like we were rewatching the Saw series while we were in our hotel rooms at certain stages, because they're like easy 90-minute films that let's have a couple drinks and watch a shit movie.
Yeah.
So we're going through them. I think we're up to 5 at this stage.
Okay. I don't think I've ever made it that far into the series, but
yeah. Well, there's a new one coming out really soon with, I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be good because it's got it's got a good cast, so it can't be bad, surely, right?
Who's in that one? Like, Is
It's
it
like Sam Jackson and Chris Rock.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. I don't
Hmm.
know. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about video games then.
Let's do it.
Apex Legends, real quick. Yeah. Got into this basically directly after Kleb and I were talking about it on last week's podcast. It's just not. You know what I think the problem is? So they had this. The first thing was they had this like I don't even know how to describe it. Like event, but it's like it seems grander than like a limited time event because it sort of takes over everything. Like when I think about limited time events in other games, you have the option to not play the limited time event, but you did not. This was just the game mode.
Right.
And every time you went in, it had the announcer for the new hero, like the new hero. He gets his arm blown off by that chick who keeps stealing his grenade from ages ago.
I didn't know there was a new hero. I thought the last one was the
Aussie guy.
Australian guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Right. So she's in there. She's like, "Oh, is that your champion? Oh, he's no good," or some shit. But she says every fucking game, and it's always the same line, and it's honestly repetitive after fucking 3 games. The rumors of its resurgence were somewhat overstated, by the way, because when we jumped into play, we couldn't queue at all for a duos game, and yeah, it was a struggle to get trios games.
Right. What time are you
so
playing though? You're playing at fucking midday in Australia?
No. We were playing at like 3, and we tried again at 5 and 6 times when you can play basically any mode of Warzone and get servers.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get shit in Apex. So yeah, that was disappointing. It was challenging playing as a duo in trios because I think in other games you're more capable of making up the deficit. It's easier to make up the deficit, but the time to kill in Apex
it's long.
is just so fucking long.
And it's quick. It's like it's very quick to heal up and
and so
back.
And unless you actively finish every single person, like you have to pursue and finish everyone. We did get some wins as duos in trios, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it was just rough, man. Like, and also there's the way the game seems to work, right? Like you there's only Evo shields anymore, and so it dramatically rewards you for getting into fights, which is a philosophy we've always sort of had, right? You want to get into fights and switch out your the ability to switch out armor like with an enemy and have it be full means you want to get in on the bodies and stuff and not take fights from fucking ages away. And but it sort of changes the landscape in that if you we were medium hot dropping, but then if we never saw another fucking player, we would roll up to the final circle against teams in red armor and we'd only have purple because there's RNG in whether or not you actually see other people, and that feels pretty rough. We wound up we were taking sniper rifles, and that way we were able to level up our armor from fucking ages away, which was good. That was a good thing. But it just didn't that's not the sort of game I want to play, right? It was sound strategy, but not an engaging experience. I still have fun, and it was good playing games with Kleb again. But he should just get Hell Let Loose. We're still playing Hell Let Loose, although I'm worried. Yesterday when we were playing, there was nobody on. Only one server was popping, which was a bit odd. So maybe it just wasn't the day for it or something like that. There's a chance that the server that we usually it's still gaining players. like day in, day out. So yeah, there's a chance that what I think might have been happening was the servers that we usually play on, Big D. I think they're going through server upgrades at the moment, and so they're
Right.
running a bit shit. And ARR is the other server that's usually popping. They've got the server admins who are D-bags, who, when you clap back at a commander who's talking shit despite you being a recon, why are you out of position? Because I'm fucking recon. This is a non-toxic server.
Sure thing,
What the
dickhead.
fuck? What the fuck, mate? Yeah. Like, how am I being toxic? You're being toxic to me, telling me I'm out of position when I'm fucking recon.
Yeah. I wonder if
And they've got
it was Tuesday yesterday, right? So maybe maintenance on Steam? I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe.
Tuesdays
Yeah.
is maintenance day over here generally.
Yeah, it's still going up in numbers. So hopefully it was just a weird anomaly. And yeah, still having fucking loads of fun with it. It is truly the, I guess, that Battlefield vibe that
Right.
I want. I like Battlefield. I like Battlefield as a game. I don't want to play Battlefield 5. Yeah. So my options are pretty limited, but Hell Let Loose fucking nails it, in my opinion.
Right.
All the way down to motherfuckers won't get on the fucking point, and it drives me fucking bananas. We lost a game yesterday when me and Drew
Drew and I.
no, you weren't even there. Me and Drew were like literally in the circle, and all our teammates needed to do was get in the circle with us. The people have this fucking habit of once they're in the circle, they then push through and try to capture the rest of the circle. It's unnecessary. If you have the numbers and like enough of the circle to make sure that you are like you have dominance in it, there's no need to go push through, and because all you're doing is risking like death. If you die, that's one less person on the circle. And if you've already like we'd done their garrison, but they were really well sat in this one point. They'd had basically the entire fucking match. It was down to like it was offensive, so we're playing this rush game mode. And so you've got to cap as the offensive team. You've got to cap 2 points, and then you move on to the next 2 points. And they had basically just built up 1 point. They'd let the other point just go, and they'd spent the entire time building up this 1 point. But me and Drew had managed to eke our way. Was it Drew or Heath? No, it was Drew. Yeah, because Drew was our. I think it was, or maybe it was Heath. I don't know. We managed to eke our way into the fucking circle, and so we were actively contesting, and even we were capping for the briefest amount of time. But if we tried to go any further than where we were, we'd get blapped because they were just so well in place. They had everything fucking locked down. All we needed was our teammates to get in there. We destroyed their garrison with a bombing run, and they weren't able to get another one up. And the way our team was around it meant that they couldn't get like reinforcements in. We just couldn't fucking get these fucking rats out of this building that was on the point. All we needed to do was cap it. Or if we couldn't cap it, we just needed enough. Like we just needed enough on the point to start the cap when the timer dripped down, so we could kick off overtime. But literally, like I'm sitting there. I'm not even contesting. I'm not even fighting at this point. I'm just sitting there on the fucking map, looking at all of our fucking teammates, and none of them were getting on the circle. I think Heath or Drew, whichever one it was, that wasn't with us, was trying to get on the circle, but the run, like it needed to be done en masse, and we'd used our smokes to get there in the first place, and so you needed all of the team to fucking push over and get on it, but it just didn't happen. which was annoying as shit. Like the amount of times, you get on the circle and you just watch as other squads. There's clearly a missed opportunity there to explain the concept, because I think the trick that Hell Let Loose has, the mistake it makes, is that you will start capping if there's nobody on the cap zone, like
Yep.
in the grid of the cap zone, from the enemy team, or if it's a neutral point. Like when you play Warfare, there's always that one neutral point in the middle at the start. If there's nobody on that point, as soon as you enter the grid, you will start capping it. And it will continue to cap in your favor until the enemy flips it the other way as well, like enters the grid as well. And then it will go down to who has people on the circle, because the people with the circle like override.
I thought it was double points.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, this is it, right? Like, this is part of the problem, right? Like, I still don't know the full juice of it, but I'm pretty sure having one person on the fucking circle is better than having 40 people in the grid and not on the circle. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. You need to have more people on the circle to start capping. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, regardless, double points overriding either way. It's definitely a case of like being on the circle is your primary fucking objective. It is it's the point. That's where you're supposed to be, and people just don't understand it, and they don't like take any time to look at their map. I think it's other games like Battlefield will give you a fucking mini map and stuff like that, and so it's easy to see when you're on the circle. And there's a little bit of, especially when you're doing the inchworm thing, like me and Drew or Heath were doing. We were playing Foy, and I just fucking belted across this open field. This is the next map. Belted across this open field and lay down against a wall. And then I looked at the map and I realized if I crawled over like 30 meters to my left, I could actually crawl into the circle while being behind the field, behind this wall, still in the field. And so that's what I did. And I was on the fucking point, but nobody else was on the fucking point. And I just there was very little I could do. And it wasn't until like they ratted me out. I was the rat in that one. They just threw grenades until I got fucking exploded, which is exactly what you have to do. And that's how you defend the point. We had something like fucking 6,000 points in defense on that map, which was fucking huge. It was, pretty epic. We went ham on that shit, which is cool. We just had a good time. But it is frustrating when other players don't get on the fucking objective.
I just found a Reddit thread. Yeah, it's double points for people that are inside the circle, the strong point. I remember hearing that in a video when I first watched it, when I was like, all right, I need to learn how to do this game, and that was something that was mentioned that I just kind of remembered. But yeah, there's a Reddit thread I'm looking at the moment that says they're worth each person inside is worth double points.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. When you're like, still having a lot of fun. Still definitely going to continue to play it unless, I mean, Warzone just exploded, right? Maybe they blew up all the terrible fucking guns that are
apparently that's what people think's going to happen. Some of the streamers.
They think somehow Black Ops Cold War guns are going to disappear from the game.
I don't know.
If anything, Modern Warfare guns are going to disappear from the game, and it's going to get worse.
We'll talk about it later.
We will.
Yeah. Did you skip over Portal Reloaded?
Oh, I did. Portal Reloaded came out this week. It is a fan-made Portal game that adds a third portal into the mix. And I love my Portal games, or my Portal custom levels. This is basically a total conversion mod that has been released as a free game on Steam that you can download.
Is Activision suing them over this?
Why?
Because Activision is suing people, aren't they, for using the word Warzone? Isn't that what you talked about last week?
But why would... Where did I say Warzone?
You didn't, but like Activision, like...
Oh, they do, yeah.
You've got somebody taking a Portal themed game.
Oh, I got you.
Yes, never mind. I have to explain jokes sometimes.
No,
anyway.
they're good. They're good jokes. The best jokes are the ones you explain. Anyway, so you've got 3 portals. It's a third portal that takes you to a different version of the same area, but 20 years in the future.
Ooh.
And so you've got to think in 4D.
Right.
And we're thinking in just portals.
Like a couple of games done, right? Like Titanfall and Dishonored are the 2 that I can think of.
Except this takes it way further. Because, portals that exist in the present will exist in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Items that exist in the present will exist in the same place in the future. And so you wind up in these situations where you're going to solve puzzles by bringing items back from the future into the past. Because if you take it the other way, they will no longer exist. As soon as you touch a cube that's in the present, the future cube will move. And so, you've got this situation where you've got to wrinkle your brain around that shit. And then, you've also got this conservation of momentum between times. And so it's almost like you've got there's a third portal that you can use. You know how you like do the zip 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 sort of thing. There's a third portal you can use. However, when you use that portal, you change time zones or whatever. Time I don't know. Yeah, time zones is fine. You change time zones, and so the rules you have to sequence it so that you do it in a way where the portals will exist in the right places when you change zones. Otherwise, your conservation of momentum will be for naught. And man, it's some shit. It takes some there is. I remember playing Portal 2, and there was like this sort of, you were just sort of flinging yourself around. Like you just sort of like bang, bang, bouncing off shit and like all this kind of stuff. In this, you are like, you stand there, you enter a level and you stand there and you open a time portal and you go through it and you step back through the time portal and you're like,
I don't know.
Okay, so I do this. I don't know what I'm doing. No, I do this. And then this, and then I put this one here and that, and then nope, that won't work. And you just like fucking work it out without moving for fucking, I don't know, 5 minutes, and then you try it and then it fails, and you're like, okay, I fucked up. But no, it's a really good Portal game, I think. Definitely for the Portal hardcores. Not Valve's sort of Portal effort, where they've made it, as user friendly as possible.
Right.
The system brain.
And this is a Portal 2 mod, not Portal 1. You've got to own Portal 2 to be able to play this.
Do you?
That's what it says here. Free Portal 2 mod. Requirements: own a copy of Portal 2.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, but I guess it's not using the new mechanics in Portal 2, like the goo guns and that.
None that I've reached so far. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe later.
Yeah, it might. I don't know. There's 25 levels. I'm up to, I think, 12.
Okay.
So I haven't seen it halfway in, but yeah. it's yeah, it's good. It's just fucking hell, man. You just there are times when you just feel so fucking useless. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was good at Portal. Fucking hell.
Well, it's because
Yeah,
in Portal 2, they just held your hand so much. They like
yeah,
showed you where you were sort of supposed to put, these portals, and um, yeah. I mean, it was a clever game, but I always felt like it was too easy. Just
yeah,
like, hey, here's a spotlight on this wall. Maybe you should use this wall, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Yep.
Portal reloaded. What do we got next? Let's go with a couple of games I checked out since I got back. Dead by Daylight. I talked about the last time I was on, I think, Trickster, new killer that they put in. I said he was not very good and it needed some changes. They have since put a patch in, I guess maybe like a week ago at this stage, to buff him, and they buffed him quite a bit. They changed a lot. Basically, his abilities are, he has a set of like 50 knives, throwing knives that he starts with, and he's able to toggle between his baseball bat and the knives, and then throw out the knives in a succession to cause laceration damage on a survivor. Once they've had a certain amount of damage on this meter that fills up, then it sets them into the injured state, and you can do it again. His problem was he was just too slow. Like, you'd be able to get like looped by other survivors by hiding, like creating a barrier between you and the killer, and just keep running around him, because he's one of the slowest in terms of speed. You can just kind of really take your time and just keep looping and looping and looping. And if he ever did decide to pull out his knives, he would move even slower. And it took I think it was like a second or so to even get those knives up. So if you were running around a corner and thought, oh, maybe I can get this person, you'd run around the corner, bring up your knives, and maybe they were too far away, or like running around another corner and you couldn't really throw one, and you've now slowed yourself down even more, and you've like lost this gap between the player. So what they've done is they've sped up his movement speed while you have your knives out. They have sped up his special ability power called Main Event. Also, when you've got your knives out, they decrease the amount of time it takes for you to pull your knives up and to be able to use them significantly. They've also reduced, like, there was like a weird recoil, like sort of like when you would throw the knives out, there was like a spray pattern to them type thing. They've like completely gotten rid of that. I think they might have even changed the recoil on the throwing. It's not a big deal anyway. It's super easy. And I think they changed a couple of add-ons as well. I haven't really looked into that stuff yet. I played about 4 or 5 games with him today, and he's definitely better. Still, I don't think he is really good at this stage. I think he still needs work, like a bit of work, to make him more viable. There's just no real reason to use him over. Like, he's at the bottom of the barrel at this stage, as far as I'm concerned, for killers. There's no point using him at all.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a killer like the Huntress, who, if you want someone who throws things, use Huntress. Like,
Yeah.
so much better. I mean, he's got some cool perks, which are definitely viable on other killers, which is cool. But his abilities are just they're not fun. He needs some sort of rework or like major buff at this stage, because you get a team that knows what they're doing, and it's just really hard to get away from. I had a team that destroyed me today. I did not do well. I think they got all the gens up, and I had like 3 hooks, and then they made the mistake of I was chasing someone as they got the last gen done, and I got him down in the basement. I was like, well, I'm just gonna fucking like sort of camp this. Like, this is my objective now. And I killed them all because they were too cocky.
They got greedy.
They got greedy.
They thought they could get him out of the basement. No.
Yeah.
How did they not give up after the first one fell? Or the second one fell, rather?
Yeah, and so like I kind of left and they rescued one of them rescued and I ran down the basement and chased one and then knocked them down and then like turned around and got the second one that they just saved. Um,
Oh
hooked
no.
one, hooked the other, and I was like, all right, well I kind of just bounced between these ones now. Went and checked the exit gate quickly and just they all just fell down. Like nobody gave me shit afterwards. They were like, GG, well played, because at the end of the day, it's a viable strat. Like if you have destroyed me, that's my objective now, is to protect this fucking person from getting away because I want some
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that even though I played well on that specific map, I just got smashed. Like because it's
Yeah.
just so hard to chase survivors and keep that distance there, especially on maps with lots of
Were they salty in the chat afterwards?
no,
Oh.
no, it was all GGs and that
Really?
sort of thing. I mean, the level we had a what do you call it, a reset. I think it's the 13th of every month, and so I'm at like rank 5 at this stage. So these were like rank 5 or 4 players, but I don't normally get salty people in the higher ranked
Right.
games. I don't know.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. So, anyway, I mean, they're making progress on it. I still think there's work to be done at this stage. There's got to be another patch coming out.
Yeah.
I saw they're doing a rework of Coldwind Farm, which looks really interesting. They're basically remaking that map, changing it from a nighttime map to a daytime map. So that could be cool. See how that kind of turns out. But that's probably like another week away, I would say, a week or two. And I guess we'll talk about Dead by Daylight a bit later on. Bit more. So anyway, that's what I've been playing. The other game that I checked out, which I think Gleb talked about this last week, is called Oddworld Soulstorm and is a PlayStation Plus free. Well, it's not really free, is it? Because you're paying for a membership. But it's the PlayStation Plus game for this month, alongside, I believe, Days Gone on PlayStation 4 is the other game. But anyway, did you play much like Oddworld at all?
Yeah, I played Oddworld back Abe's.
What'd you play it
Not
on?
Oddworld. I played Abe's Odyssey on
Abe's
PlayStation 1.
Right.
Yeah. We had that for ages.
Right.
I love that game.
Yeah.
It's just like just sort of worked as a game that you could play sharing the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone could have input on how to do something, but it still came down to a sort of execution of the person with the controller in hand, and yeah,
Right.
like that person still had final say on what you do and stuff, and yeah, because it was a puzzle game that had moments of high stress. It sort of worked really well for me and my brothers.
Mm.
But yeah, I haven't played this one yet.
Right. I don't have much of a connection with it. I feel like maybe I've played it on PC, the original, but that's, or maybe it could have been even at someone's house that I might have played it on PlayStation, because I didn't have an original. I don't think I had an original PlayStation.
Right.
I think I got it in the PlayStation 2. I can't even remember at this stage. Anyway, so yeah, Oddworld Soulstorm. I can't even talk about like the differences between like the games. As far as I know, it's a puzzle platforming game where you're trying to like almost rescue people in a Lemmings style environment, while having different abilities and that sort of thing. This game is it looks like they played Dan Hines' Wildfire, and I'm like, let's make a game on Oddworld, because holy shit, it's like fire propagation and like using abilities, getting rid of fire with water. It's the same sort of like mechanics, like setting grass on fire, destroying doors. Very similar aiming system where you've got those dots and you kind of move them around with your controller. And just as far as I'm concerned, I've played the first level, just not done in a very interesting way. It's I think it controls really poorly.
Yeah.
Like the platforming, there's something like sluggish about it. It just doesn't feel responsive. Like you kind of, or it feels
That
like
was
it's
always
yeah.
that was always the way with Abe's Odyssey, though.
Hmm.
Like there was always a little bit of a delay, and it felt like what they were going for was not like a reluctance from Abe, but more like a like you were telling him to do something. That's I think how I always internalized it. You were
Right.
telling him to do something, and then he'd do it. Not necessarily you were doing things for him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think it works. It just feels too like there's some sort of lag or delay, like unresponsiveness to it. It's just the precision just isn't there. And so I finished the first level. I might go back to it. I was sort of playing it last night before I went to bed, and just nothing about it really grabbed me. It's just like even the design of the first level of showing you like, hey, here is how you propagate fire. Here is how you use these bottles that it gives you. There's some swinging mechanics. Like it just feels like that. It teaches you how to do something, and then it sort of teaches you how to do that again, the same way, but it's like a longer section of it, and it's just like it does that like 3 or 4 times. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand how to do this. Like you just showed me how to do it. Why am I doing this again for the second time? It just doesn't make much sense to me. So I got to the end of that and I was just like, I don't know, man, I'm not feeling it. I don't think it looks particularly interesting. I was kind of expecting it to be, it's a I thought it was going to be a big PlayStation game or like a big game, and it's just kind of looks very bland and browns. It's just not very sharp. So maybe it's just not for me, but I was not feeling this at all. So
Yeah, Kleb was saying something similar last week. He just didn't get into it.
mm,
Apparently, he was saying that he really burned out on the third level.
mm,
Apparently, they fixed the specific problem that he was having,
right.
but I don't think he went back in time. I was actually G'd up to go play it, and then he was talking about it, and every time I went to go play it, I'm like,
I mean, as soon as I got home, I downloaded it. I fired up my PlayStation. It was one of the first things I did. I was like, yeah, let's go.
I've
And
got it downloaded. It's ready to go. I don't really have anything else to play on my big fucking new TV and
right.
wonderful PlayStation 5.
Did you fix the movie settings yet? Because I remember we were watching a movie at your place and you had like motion smoothing on, and we had to get you to fix it because it was terrible.
I have already fixed all of that shit.
If like Chris Nolan came to your house, he would throw your TV.
Tom Cruise would sprint. And it would be the most cinematic sprint. And then him and Christopher McQuarrie would fucking kick through my fucking door and beat me in my ass and head. Just fucking crack. What the fuck is this shit? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. They hate that shit. I've already fixed it.
Thank you.
I remember the fucking complaints from last time. Yeah. God.
Nice.
Anyway.
Anyway, Oddworld, Soulstorm. I don't know, man. I think maybe you should play it and tell me if I'm wrong.
Do know. I don't know. It sounds like you do know.
Like, am I missing something? Yeah. Anyway,
I don't wanna. Anyway, what is up next?
a bunch of your stuff.
All of my stuff. You're out of stuff. Why don't we do? Speaking of console games, why don't we do this up next? NHL 21 and MLB The Show 21. I want to talk about
some
these
Game
two
Pass games.
They're both in the Game Pass. Yeah, I want to talk about these ones. And yeah, I reckon. So MLB The Show 21. I don't really go in for baseball all that much. I've spoken about this before. We were speaking about it last week on the podcast.
Yeah. Unless it's Nintendo Switch baseball.
Sorry,
Nintendo Wii.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that just made sense. But yeah, basically the only way I really consume it is via John Boy videos, and even or via SB Nation breakdowns of dumb stuff in sports. It's just I don't have the cultural background to really the heritage background to really give a shit about baseball, I suppose. But that said, it's still better than, in my opinion, better than any fucking cricket game we've had since like Ricky Ponting Cricket '99. So
Hmm.
yeah, if I want to hit a ball with a stick, then my options are pretty limited, and sometimes I do feel the desire to do that. So yeah, jumped into MLB The Show, downloaded it. I had to pick a baseball team that I was all about. And I picked, who did I pick? Boston, the Boston Red Sox.
Okay, yeah, that's a team. That is a
Yep,
team.
I've been to Boston. I haven't seen baseball there. I haven't.
Oh,
I guess the closest I came to watching a baseball game was I almost went to a Giants game once. That's San Francisco. Almost went there.
Yep.
One time. You've been to baseball, right?
no, I'm being
No.
anything. Basketball was the last thing I went to. Basketball's back
Right.
over here. It's fucking
Yeah.
nuts. There's actual
Yeah.
basketball games happening.
That's because they're vaccinating 3 million people a day over
4
there.
million. Last I heard was 4 million. That was like last week.
We haven't vaccinated 4 million people total. Anyway, so yeah. Almost went to a Giants game. Still, I'm like, okay, Boston Red Sox. Let's go with Boston.
Mhm.
I don't really understand. Get in. The main screen of this game, incomprehensible. It's got like 4 options, and I don't know what any of them mean. I had to like scroll down through the menu to find how I just played some baseball. But
Right.
eventually I found it. Set up a game against like the Boston Red Sox versus some like minor league baseball team, so I could just fucking like trounce them. Just
Mhm.
absolutely pants these cunts. So I wouldn't have to, so I could learn the basics without also having to like be concerned about some like fucking screwball zoopity boo angels in the outfield shit where I'm like, I don't fucking like, how am I supposed to win this when I understand the fundamental concept of the game? So yeah, just a bunch of professional $1 million athletes rolled up, and like Apollo Creed versus Rocky Balboa.
Hmm.
Some amateur chump who's just been fed to the sharks. That's what these dudes were. And I very slowly worked out what the fuck I was doing. And I don't know. I think I'm in too deep. This is not like I think I need to start with like an arcade baseball game, not some shit where I'm like, I get into the 9th inning, right? And I think we're up like 11 runs.
Mhm.
Runs? Are they runs? Yeah.
Yeah, the runs.
Okay. 11 runs. We're up 11 runs. It's 11-0. It took me a couple of innings to work out like how to hit the ball into a space that wasn't just into a catch it as someone's fucking glove. But eventually I did, and I was like getting base hits, and then like by the like 5th inning, I worked out I could get a bunch of base hits with the like you got like a batting order like in cricket. And so what you want to do is like the first couple of dudes in the batting order, they're not like power hitters.
Hmm.
They're like they can hit, right?
Yeah.
But they're not
They're
like
runners.
they're not the beasts. Yeah, you get them on fucking base, right? So you get them to just do basic base hits, and then the big boys, right? Who
Mm.
definitely aren't juicing, totally not juicing. Only that went away. They stopped juicing, even though this dude looks like the Incredible Hulk. He walks out there, picks up the fucking baseball bat, and it looks like he's picked up a matchstick, right? He looks like a monster out of fucking Space Jam, and then he fucking swings away and then fucking belts it just into space, just gone,
Hmm.
right? Crushes it, and you get like 4 runs. You're like, yeah, perfectly calculated. Don't worry about it. And then the dude on the pitching mound is sort of standing there. And he's like, I got paid. Like they made me pay for my own bus ticket to get here, so I could get fucking blitzed by this cunt. What the fuck is this shit? And then the coach of the other team pulls him off the mound. Not pulls him off on the mound, but just yanks him out of the game. And then like they put some other schmo in. Like what's that gonna do? It doesn't fucking matter. If you throw anyone up there, they may as well be like literally me, like actually me on the mound throwing balls to this. Nobody could do any better. Like I could do as good as these guys are on the way I'm fucking crushing these balls. And yeah, switch over. Like after, my problem is I learned in the like last out of the ninth inning how to maybe not swing at a ball, because like throughout this game I just swang. I swung. I don't know. I swang at every fucking ball.
Yeah.
even when I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's ridiculous. My dude would like fucking reach to still try to get to it. Like he'd be like fucking stretching, because like this pitcher has had such a bad time that now he's just throwing it outside. So that please, I'm just sick. Please, just fucking, I'm just gonna fucking walk you. Just fucking, and my dude's like still swinging out there, and then even like on the third attempt at this dude like throwing it out all the way on the outside, my dude did still get a tip on it, and fucking away it goes for another fucking 400-yard home run. Just demoralizing. Absolutely. Anyway, switch to pitching. Eventually my swing at everything like strategy would betray me, and I'd get 3 outs and I'd have to fucking pitch. And yeah. Pitching, these dudes, they're not ready. They're not ready for some dude who can throw a ball at 100 miles per hour. Like their pitcher is maybe doing 89 miles an hour. That's 10% increase. It's too fast for them. Like, I just put it wherever. I like fucking fastball. And then I'd do it again. And then on the third dude, I'd like throw a curveball just to fuck with him. Just to like, and that dude would like, way too early. And then we'd switch out. Anyway, right? So my pitcher, I don't know, fucking about 9 pitches every single inning. That's all he had to do. Still had 0 energy when we go into the 9th. So when you got 0 energy, it doesn't matter. Like you don't get to really decide where you throw it. You just fucking throw it, and it'll just go wherever the fuck it wants. Right? Like the lower your energy, the less accuracy you've got. And I'm like, this cunt's only job is to throw fucking baseballs, and he can't throw what, 81 baseballs? Because that's all he had to do. It's 9 innings. 9 times 9 is 81, right? He can't do fucking 81 he can't throw the ball 81 times? What the fuck is this dude? Like, fucking hell. This is ridiculous. Like, what? Isn't he a sports star?
All right.
Like, fuck.
You know what you need? You need those V-Bucks to buy the Gatorade energy bars to then feed them to him, and you get an energy boost.
Well, I had to sub this dude out. Otherwise, I wasn't going to have a fucking no-hitter. Because, like, he throws one at about 89 miles an hour. I'm like, and it goes where it, like, goes just fucking wild. I'm like,
yeah.
All right. So, first of all, he can't throw at full speed anymore. Second of all, what the shit? Throw the second one, and, like, the man at bat, like, actually hits it. I'm like, hold up. This hasn't happened. What the fuck is this? Like, now I got a fucking field, and the fielding tutorial comes up for the first time ever in the 9th inning of this fucking game. I'm like, I don't fucking know. So this dude gets to the third base. And I'm like, all right, fucking slap the emergency button. I'm like, fucking stop. No, time out. Fucking stop. No. I don't want it. Like, they can't get any runs. We're a fucking professional baseball team. We're a major league baseball team. And these cunts are about to get fucking a home run on maybe multiple home runs on us. And they're trash. They're a little league team or some shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. No way is this happening. Took me like, I don't know, 5 minutes to work out how to get the fucking pitcher out. Like, just get rid of this cunt. I'm like, you fucking slack shit. Get him a fucking stretcher and stretch him off. Get the new guy in. This dude's faster. He's like 102 miles an hour. I'm like, you stupid cunts. And this dude at third base from his fucking little league team, and he's like thinking, oh, I'm gonna get home. No fucking chance. Not a fucking hope in hell. Six fucking throws later, all gone. Moral of the story is, I think I understand how to play MLB The Show 21.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to play baseball. Absolutely no idea. I don't understand why this dude couldn't fucking throw the ball a couple more times. It's not like he didn't have to throw 81 balls back to back, right? That would be pretty rough. I could understand if that was too much.
Would it? I mean, Steph Curry can knock down like 90 of 100 3-pointers in a row.
But he's not
more at this stage.
I don't think the ball's going 100 miles an hour. You know, like it's wear and tear, I think, at this point. It's not like stamina. I think it's like, yeah,
my arm has fallen out of my socket.
Right?
Someone please reattach it.
The last time I whipped the ball past my shoulder, my elbow dislocated itself, and
yeah.
But it doesn't even have to do 81 in a row. This motherfucker was doing just 9 balls in a row.
Good old softball pitch.
Right? Like, but he'd go and sit down. He wasn't batting. I didn't see him come up for bat, which I also don't understand. Right? Like, are there people who play baseball and they never bat?
I think they
just
do.
like, do they have to bat?
I think they're generally like last, and like if you get like to them,
cricket. Yeah. And my swing at everything strategy didn't really allow him to get a chance to bat.
Maybe.
I had 1 ball called against me. Everything else was either a crushing blow or a strike. Yeah. But he goes and sits down for fucking, I don't know how long you sit down for, but like 15 minutes at least. And then you go and throw another fucking 9 balls, and then you go and sit down again. Like, just, there's not much to go on here, mate. Like, just take a seat, okay? Anyway, the reason I want to talk about NHL and MLB at the same time is because NHL 21 hit Game Pass at theoretically, I think, the same time, same day. I saw it when I was in Game Pass downloading MLB. I'm like, oh, NHL is right next to it. I'll grab that as well. And my problem is that now when I turn on the Xbox, I'm like, I'm going to play some MLB. I'm like, oh, or I could play NHL. I think I would be as good at ice hockey IRL as I would be at baseball IRL, assuming I was doing roughly the same thing, which is very little, right? Like, I think I could hit a ball, not one thrown at 100 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour, like, but amateur league shit, I think I could hit a baseball probably. I wouldn't have a lot of control over where it went,
right?
But I think I could do it, right? I could certainly run to a base. Or walk to a base if I got walked. I would never get walked. Unless they actually hit me with the pitch, I'd never get walked because my swing at everything philosophy would definitely translate to real life. Right? If I were playing ice hockey in real life, I think I could hit the puck at the goal with about the same amount of accuracy as I could hit a baseball that was thrown at me. Right? Roughly the same amount of accuracy, which is to say, almost none. So and you know, I can rollerblade So I can sort of ice skate, although I did have to go get X-rays when we went on a school trip to ice skating. Fucking hell, 21 years ago, 22 years ago, right? Because they thought I'd shattered my elbow
Right.
because I fell down on it 8 times. And my teacher, I remember my teacher telling my mum that he thought I was trying to break my elbow because he watched me and he counted me falling on my elbow, the same elbow. And he's like, I started counting and he fell on that same elbow 8 times.
I'm
Anyway,
just trying to get out of ice skating.
right? Had enough of it. Anyway, so I think I could be as good at baseball as I would be at ice hockey, which is to say, not very good at all. However, video game ice hockey, I'm good enough at. I mean, I played it a lot, and it sort of makes sense to me. And then you've got like there's the general level of excitement, the general level of engagement, right? Like you actually wind up, doing stuff a lot of the time. Whereas
Don't you
in
usually just
baseball,
like go around the back of the net and then come out the other side and just hit it in?
and
Isn't that how
loop it
you?
in,
Yeah, isn't that how you play?
doesn't work. Doesn't work in,
Oh, they
in the
fixed it.
modern NHL games. Yeah, they've sort of fixed it.
Right.
You can get away with it, sort of, but it's not a all-time perma winning strategy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, even if you're not on the puck at that moment, you can still line some cunt up and just level him, and that doesn't seem to happen all that much in MLB The Show. Although I've seen, in TV shows and movies when they're playing baseball, I've seen people getting leveled, but I haven't been able to replicate it in the game, and so I'm struggling with that. And yeah, so when I load up the Xbox, I mostly just go and play NHL 21. One of my favorite things about it, when you're like leveling people, is I don't know, I feel like they got that UFC physics in it. Because some of the ways these limbs bend when they like hit the ground, you're like, oh shit, he's never walking again. That's
Right.
that dude is finished. Holy shit, he might be actually dead. And then he fucking flops his way back over like a fucking horror movie like geek. And like, yep, gets back up and you're like, well done, man. That's flexibility. You got away with some stuff on that one. Yeah. So anyway. Sports games.
Yeah. How come? So I'm just looking. NHL, obviously, and what's it called? MLB The Show is a PlayStation game that has come across to, like it's a console game, right? So it's sort of like I sort of guess I get the idea of why it's not on PC, even though I still think that's weird. Because for them to do the work to put it on Xbox, like at this stage, these things are PCs basically, right?
Yep.
But what I don't get is why NHL is not on PC, because isn't that thing on the Frostbite engine, or is it not on Frostbite?
It is. I don't know either. Effort, I suppose. Maybe they crunch the numbers and they're like, the fucking 4 people are going to buy it on PC. Just
yeah,
not worth the effort.
But you never know unless you do it, right? It's such a weird thing. You're seeing PlayStation, which again I think we'll talk about later on, like putting games out on PC now, and it's such a weird decision to be like, you know what, we're just going to put this out on consoles and like forget that market entirely. Like even if it does, like how do you predict whether or not that game is going to be good unless they know at the start that it's going to be trash?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that's the entire game, isn't it? Right? Like that prediction shit, working it out, and yeah, being risk averse is pretty common. So Yeah, why take a risk when you don't really need to?
Right.
I suppose.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because like FIFA's a big game on PC, right? Isn't it?
It's nowhere near as big as
Yeah.
console. That's the thing.
Right. And I guess NHL is sort
Like
of it's a
orders of
market, right?
magnitude.
It's
Yeah.
Canada and
Yeah.
North America, maybe places in Europe, I guess. Certain places in Europe.
Yeah. The snowy ones.
The snowy ones, yeah. Anyway. All right. Because I was just looking, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll play that, but it only on console Game Pass, and I ain't got no console. All right, fair enough. Anything else to add there?
No, that's about it. Yeah.
Cool.
So Ludo Narracon is on at the moment, which is a bit of a festival about like storytelling in games and the blend between storytelling and gameplay. And I've been checking out some games from it. Tricky because not every game, there's a tendency, I think, for games that want to place a large emphasis on story to be adventure games, right? And I don't like adventure games. I'm too old to play games that I don't fucking like, and I know I'm not gonna like them. I still dip in every now and then because sometimes I get proven wrong, proven incorrect.
Disco Elysium, I think, was on sale recently, right? The
Yeah.
director's cut, and I was so close to getting it, but I was like,
I think you'd like Disco Elysium. I talked about it fucking when it first came out.
But did
I
they put
liked
voice
it.
acting in? Because I feel like when
Yeah,
I
they
heard
added voice
about it, it
acting.
was all
Yeah.
text, a lot of text.
It was a shitload of text. They added voice acting.
Okay.
I liked it. The bridge that allowed me to enjoy it, because it is pretty much an adventure game. The bridge that it allowed me to enjoy it was Planescape Torment. So I had that nostalgia bridge. And I find that often I need that sort of thing, and not having a strong background in point and click adventures. The point and click adventures that I did play growing up bored me with pixel hunting. Speaking of fucking, there is no game, wrong to mention. I remember you talked about this fucking ages ago, and I bought it as a result of your you're extolling its virtues. It is a fucking adventure. It's a fucking pixel hunting point and click adventure game. You son of a bitch.
I think I said that.
No, you absolutely didn't. You didn't say that. You said I should get it. I remember, because otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. I got to a bit where I like had to have like I'm like sitting there clicking. I'm on a TV. I'm in chapter 2 in that game. Right. I'm clicking around on this TV, and I get to the back of it, and then I get to the front of it, and it's all blurry. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And I clicked, and something happened on the screen. I'm like, oh, so I was just meant to randomly fucking click. Fuck this shit. I'm done. It was like it was entertaining. I think it was entertainingly written, but I just have zero patience for puzzle games where the only real path to success, the only solution is to try random shit. I've got no patience for it. So yeah. Fuck that game. Anyway, Ludo Narracon is happening right now, and just by happenstance, I purchased a game that is being featured pretty heavily in it. I purchased it last week, called Not for Broadcast. Not for Broadcast, rather. And I think the prologue is going up for this as part of Ludo Narracon, so I think it will be up this weekend. But this a very entertaining game where you play a guy at the controls of a like a TV broadcast, and you have to sort of like, it starts out pretty easy, where you're just sort of deciding what goes on each screen, which screen to project to the broadcast. And so it'll be like there'll be two people on a screen, and your job is to keep the view engaging. And so it'll be someone's talk like you've got to keep the screen on the person who's talking, but don't leave it on there for too long because viewers get bored. So switch to reaction shots every now and then switch to a wide shot every now and then when it's like when you've repeated the same action. Like if you switch from screen 1 to screen 2 and then back to screen 1, you don't want to go to screen 2 again because you're repeating stuff too much and it's too boring for viewers and they'll get bored and switch away. So you switch to the wide shot. And you switch between these three things, and then sometimes, like at the end of the segment, you'll slot in an ad, and then it adds in like you have to bleep out when they're saying, like when they're swearing and
Right.
all this kind of stuff, and it sort of like ramps up, and it's got like this very British sense of humor about it. Reminds me a lot of like Black Mirror or something like that. And it's all like full motion video acted. And yeah, at the end, you can also go back and like listen to the different feeds and hear what like people were talking about. So the people in the studio, like you might switch to an interview on location and then go back to the afterwards and listen to the people in the studio, and they'll be like talking shit about the people or like reacting themselves and stuff like that. And it's just very entertaining. And then it takes a turn. I believe this will be after the prologue. You won't get this out of the prologue, but it takes a turn towards the Papers, Please direction, while still having the same kind of humor about it. And yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. At least, like at the very least, grab the prologue if you can. See how you feel about it.
Cool.
But I think yeah, the whole game itself is really well done. So yeah, that was just by happenstance. It also happened to be in Ludonarracan, so it's a very nice
Sure.
coincidence that people will be able to check it out before they purchase it. But yeah, very entertaining, and yeah, it gets pretty hectic, which is good. But also in Ludonarracan, I checked out a couple other games. I checked out one called Do Not Buy This Game, which is sort of a it's this narrative game where you play through it, and this like the game developer reveals that he doesn't want you to play the game, and he keeps throwing like obstacles in your way to try to slow you down from playing it and try to slow you down from like completing this one objective, which is to push a button, because he hasn't made the game and he's just trying to do whatever he can to stop you from doing it.
So it's like a 3D version of There Is No Game.
Well, no, but that's what like dragged me in the first place, because I wanted to I wanted to see if it was like that. But the difference here is that it's like it feels very linear. It feels like there's no pixel hunting here because there's nothing else to do but exactly the hyper obvious thing
Right.
in front of you. And it's almost like they're on two different ends of a spectrum, and I would prefer a game that was sort of closer to the fucking middle, where I had to exercise my brain at all.
Right. Stanley Parable.
Like one of the first. Yeah, exactly. It's got that sort of vibe to it. Or what was that other, the Magic Circle or whatever? Yeah, good games that play with the idea of the the developer talking to you as a narrative sort of deity. And then the other game I've checked out from Ludonarracan so far is called Game Director Studio. And this one feels a little it's quite harrowing. You play the game director story, sorry, and you play a game director who has to manage the like wants and needs of all of the people within your game studio, and it's all sort of done via like made up IM text chat, and they'll talk to you, each like your art director, your technical director, your publisher, your sound designer. They all talk to you and like discuss what they need, and you have to like tell them whether or not you can like give that to them, like what you can provide for them. And you've got like, it's almost like you've got binary options. It actually reminds me a lot of that board game I was playing, King's Dilemma, where you sort of make these decisions and it carves out a path, the story of your story, of how your game's being developed and stuff. And the other thing is there's like time pressure, where like people will want to talk to you at the same time. Like 3 people might want to talk to you at the same time, and you've got to manage that shit, because if they run out of time, they'll just make a decision without you, and your relationship might be hurt as a result. You didn't prioritize them, and it winds up feeling super hectic. And yeah, like it's a very interesting idea for a game, because it's sort of, I think the idea is to cement just how much pressure and how simple it can be to make the wrong decision, like a decision that is considered wrong. And so like early on you get presented with like your art director is like, I'm not going to ask my guys to crunch, but your publishers just asked you to produce an E3 demo, and you got to decide whether to tell them to crunch or not. And like it's some shit, right? Like, because we see in the news people like, oh yeah, crunch is super evil, etc., etc., etc. And then you're presented with it in the format of a game where none of the people that these aren't real people, right? And so you can sort of contextualize it that way, but at the same time it frames it within your mind of how the decision might be made. And I think it's very clever. It's a very good idea. I think it could be executed a little bit better, because it's very difficult on the outset to determine what what decisions will do to your game, and I don't think that's the intention. I think it was very clear what these decisions would do to your ability or your capacity for each game. I think it'd be a much clearer message, as opposed to you make these decisions and it's very ambiguous until you've done them, and then you just sort of wear the consequences of your actions. And that works for a game like King's Dilemma, where the ambiguity is sort of used for the game itself, and there's still at least a little clarity. But in a game like this, where it's trying to, I think, teach players something, ambiguity doesn't really work. But yeah. Anyway, very intriguing. I believe it will have a demo going up as well. Worth checking out, I think. If you want a harrowing game director experience. Yeah. Anyway.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. And that was it.
Nice.
From Ludo Narracon. That's all I've played so far. I don't know if I'll get to play anything else, but see if there's anything that captures my fancy. Yeah. Anyway, next up we have Monster Train. Just briefly on this one, I've been playing more Monster Train.
Yep.
It was for a little while a game that I was playing because I could knock out like half an hour game, and I just without like when nobody else was around, or I was waiting to get the crew together to play some Hell Let Loose or whatever. Just knock out a game like Monster Train.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like I've definitely solved it. I put up a tweet video how to win at Monster Train, and it works every single time. It will always work every single time. Go green, blue. Cycle through your starter cards until you get the 2 stealth. Meld the 2 stealth guys, give them endless, and it almost. I think it doesn't matter. Spikes is basically your only real worry at that point. You go wild and 10 or whatever the fuck he is. Give him sweep, give him quick, and he makes everyone else on the same level quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the stealth guy in front of him, and then he sweeps out everyone. So anyone with low health below 30, which is usually all the major debuffers, they die before they ever get to do anything. And your whoever else you've got behind him buffs up or does the rest of the damage. When he's got sweep, when Wild and 10 has sweep, he has the ability to hold people, and they're rooted. They stay on that same level, and so you wind up in situations where you might have like fucking 12 cunts all on that one level. I think it's 7. 7's the max, but you'll have 7 people all on the same level, and they might have like fucking 500 health, but they can't move away. They're stuck, and you just keep fucking hitting them. The other trick is that, and every time, because you got endless on your stealthy boy, every time he dies, if they do any damage at all to that guy, every time he dies, your guys get 4 more stealth, and so they can't be seen. And one thing that I think the game does incorrect, one mistake that I think it does, is that people who are stealth aren't attacked at all, even with sweep. And that would be how you would solve this problem. That's how you'd solve this strategy and make it so it's not literally invincible, is make it so that people with sweep attack everyone in the same area, because then my wild
Like it's
intent
hitting
only has
something.
it's hitting, as long as it's hitting something, it's hitting everything on that level.
Sure.
But if they've got stealth, they don't get hit at all. And so yeah, my dudes just fucking dodge, and then even against Divinity, the final secret boss, my guys have got fucking 20 plus turns to do whatever the fuck they want. And I fuck up this strategy constantly, and I can still get away with it. I will waste or piss away my fucking Ember and not have enough Ember to play Stealthy Boy, and it doesn't matter. It's that ridiculous fucking moveset. You get away with shit constantly. Yeah. Which has ruined Monster Train as a game that I I don't know. I've gone back to it's the same problem I had before the last Divinity DLC, which is that I know I could get to 25. I know
It's
I
just
could
about getting
do
the
it.
card you need.
It's about getting the card I need and then just doing it. But because I have solved it so firmly, there's absolutely nothing in it. It is just completing the same thing. Once you've got that start, it almost does not matter what comes after it. I think the only real way you would fail is if you never got a halfway decent like the ability to buff, because you need like 20 plus turns is fine, but if your dudes are only ever doing fucking 20 damage, you're only gonna have that's 400 fucking damage on Divinity, and he's got fucking 3,000 health, so you'd come up well short. But if you have, like, most of the time, I will find like the dude who has harvest +2/+3, and so he has, anytime anyone dies on the same level as him, he gets +2/+3. He winds up most of the time being chonky enough that like he could do it himself regardless. Like he could probably win it even if he wasn't invisible the entire time. But there are way too many pieces in the deck for you to find. You'd have to properly fuck it up to not be able to do it. So yeah, just wind up in this situation where it's just doing the same thing over and over and over again, which is dull. But yeah,
Right.
Yeah, which is a shame. I've ruined the game for myself, which is literally what I did for the game before the DLC came out. But we wind up in the classic Joab situation of games where I can't actively play outside of a system that I know is efficient, right? Like that was the problem with Umbra and Shadow Eater, was it? Shadow, the guy who wound up getting like +2 health permanently whenever he ate. And so you just chuck him on the top level or middle level and feed him constantly.
Right.
And by the time you got to the final boss, he'd one-shot the fucking thing. Because he'd have like 800 fucking attack or some shit, and all you needed to do was keep him alive. That was before the DLC. Now, after the DLC and you're combining people, it's just, I just can't see any other. I've found peak efficiency. Why would I do it any other way? I don't know. Ruin the game for myself, like I said. Dumb. Anyway, and finally on the list today is Elite Dangerous, which we've talked about years and years and years ago, and I'm getting back into because they are on the cusp of the unthinkable. Elite Dangerous Odyssey is around the corner. And Odyssey allows players to get out of their spaceship and walk around and do all kinds of shit, including participating in combat, which certain citizens, star citizens, might recognize as the dream before their game turned into some sort of ship-selling Ponzi scheme. This is what Star Citizen was supposed to be. But yeah, now Elite Dangerous appears to be about to get it done. And yeah, I'm in. I love the idea of it. We're in a bit of a period of time where not much is happening. I remember Elite Dangerous has always been a fucking gorgeous game. I've got all these tools now that I never used to have. I've got a VR headset that I think would be fucking fantastic for it. I've got a fairly good flight stick in the Honeycomb Aerodynamics Alpha, with it's got a yoke and rudders and all that kind of stuff and pedals and stuff, that I think would be pretty fucking fantastic, and I can use that. And so I'm setting myself up again. I just need to work out how the fuck to play again, really, because I don't remember shit. So I've been playing. I played a couple of hours, getting back into the swing of it. I love, just like, remember, I had to go do the tutorial again, which was fairly annoying because I don't know. It was teaching me a lot of stuff that I did remember, and then like every 10 things or so, it did teach me something that I didn't remember. And I was extremely grateful that it reminded me, I don't know, requesting fucking clearance to land and stuff, unless you get fucking blown out of the sky type shit.
Mhm.
But yeah, like all the stuff that I do remember, I just don't need the fucking reminder on. But yeah, got back in and just sort of did a haul, space trucking, bought some silver at one location, sold it at another location for a massive profit. They've streamlined a lot of that stuff, which is nice. They've made it really easy to work out. Like, there's sort of a galactic network that'll tell you, like what silver's being sold at in other systems and stuff like that. And so you can work out your like sort of tonnage per, your profit per tonnage from that, and maximize that kind of shit, like the time it takes to get there and stuff like that. And it's a good, like, hauling is a good way to sort of get yourself back into the swing of, I guess, like the basics, right? Like getting back into the swing of like landing and all this kind of stuff. It's been long enough now that like the location I started at, I bought the silver at, and then I took it to another location that was actually inside the atmosphere
Mhm.
of a planet. So I had to land on a planet, which was pretty fucking cool. Yeah, just rad getting back into that game. I don't know. It's like No Man's Sky, but with good space flight and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I talked about it last year, right? With I tried getting back into it, and it was just a nightmare to get the mappings working properly on my HOTAS.
Yeah.
Because the guy that was doing the mapping stopped updating it, and like
updating,
Elite
yeah.
Dangerous changed the config.
Yep.
Their I don't know what they use, INI file, some sort of text file for the config, and so you plug it in and it just wouldn't work properly. And every time I looked into it, for people being like, "Hey, how do we do this? Like, can someone post it?" Everyone's just like, "Oh, I've just done it manually." Like, and it's one of those things where it's like you've got 120 buttons to set up, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start on this stuff.
You should do it. Because
then,
mate, you do that, right? Don't even do it. Just map it to a fucking Xbox controller, right? Because it's on console, right? Map it to an Xbox controller, and then we'll get into the on foot shit, and we'll just black cunts and steal their stuff on foot. Because here's my reasoning, right, Luke? Okay, here's my reasoning. Is that all the people playing Elite Dangerous are flight sim nerds, right? They're like, oh yeah, played a bunch of Microsoft Flight Sim, and I just wanted to go into space again, and I love my space trucking and blah. They're not playing first-person shooters. These are all like 50-year-old dudes with like a man cave so I could get away from the missus, and then like fucking go in and like go on there. They've set up all 120 buttons on their HOTAS, and they're fucking like going around, and they get out of their ship and they're like, oh yeah, oh well, I've got my Anaconda and my fucking, it's got all the best stuff in it, and my guy is fully equipped with all the best gear, and then we'll roll in our fucking, I got the ASP, and you'll have something worse for sure, and then we'll land next to them, and we'll jump out of it, and then it'll be like, oh, you're out of the Anaconda, you made a mistake, bitch, blah 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 blah, and we'll steal all this shit, and then that's it. That's all we need to do.
Right.
We'll just fucking rob these cunts blind, because they'll be in our world. This is the dream, Luke. Okay, You don't need 120 buttons on a HOTAS when you're out of your shit.
Got left
no
click.
use anymore. You got fucking WASD, baby. Yeah, the gentleman bandit flies again, baby. There's going to be nothing gentlemanly about this shit. We're just going to rob people. It's the dream. So set it up. Let's do it. Fantastic.
Did you
but
check
yeah.
out with VR at all?
No, I haven't checked it out yet. Because I unplugged all my VR stuff.
Right.
When I was redoing my consoles, the nightmare of cables behind my monitor is something else.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite tricky. But I'll plug it all back in again and check it out because yeah, I do think it's gonna at the moment I've got hotkeys set up so I can switch between my panels on the sides, but I know that it's context sensitive if you've got VR on, so you can just turn your head to the left and look at the panel and it'll still work contextually, which is the dream.
Right.
Mate,
So I've still got my printout, but it's it's like 4 pages, and I'd have to go in and do them all manually, and I don't know, man. Like, can't someone just surely someone's done?
Look it up again. Look it up again and find out. Look at how organized. Holy shit. If I wanted to find a printout in this office, holy fuck. It wouldn't.
Well, no, it's next to my setup, so
that wouldn't help me. That doesn't change anything in my experience. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Elite Dangerous. That'll be out soon, it looks like. Or Odyssey, at least. Probably before Star Citizen, at least.
Yeah, almost definitely. Yeah. I am in the alpha now, so I will be able to check out this on foot shit, but I might not immediately give up the game that I'm going to rob people blind in it.
Yeah.
Not just yet.
Yeah. All right. That's the game. There's a lot going on there.
A lot of games.
And there's a lot of news. We've chucked a lot of news here, so let's belt through these. Let's kick things off with one game that we actually didn't play, which is the Resident Evil Village demo. This is maybe one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while for like a marketing strategy perspective.
Right.
So basically, they had this Resident Evil event. They did one of these recently. And during this, they announced that there would be a series of demos being released, available exclusively on the PlayStation platform, but also they would be time locked to certain time zones and then only available for a certain amount of time. What? Why? What is the point? Like, what was the time in Australia? It was something stupid, right? Like 5 o'clock p.m. till, I don't know, like 3 in the morning? Or?
5 till 3. 5 till 3, 5 till 7 till 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Yeah, I wasn't about it at all. So I just didn't even bother, really. Because the last demo wasn't, it was just it was a roller coaster ride. Like, it was linear as fuck.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in dropping everything if it was going to be the same. So fuck it, right? Also, you don't get to tell me when I get to play a fucking game, motherfuckers. A game demo? I tell you. No, well, maybe not then, but not to that extent. But like I don't know. Fuck off.
Well, like, what's the point of doing it that way? Like, are they trying to build up this massive hype thing to be like, you've got to be here between 8 hours and otherwise that's it?
It's the non-fungible token concept. It's the NFT token concept, right? You know, it's Cartman land, I suppose. It's more Cartman land than it is NFT, but I guess that sort of thing is back in vogue. This idea that you can woo only a limited amount of people can have something, right? You know, fucking Nintendo, or you can only buy 35th anniversary bloody blah for this long or whatever the fuck. Like, yeah, fuck it.
So weird.
Uh,
So strange.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, it's dumb. Here's another thing we'll talk about that we hate in relation to Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4 VR is coming exclusively to the Oculus Quest 2.
Fuck this shit.
Fuck
Fuck this shit.
Is
Fuck
Capcom
anyone.
trying to piss everybody off?
Luke, I'm going to say it. Fuck anyone who bought an Oculus, okay, and gave them the power to do this shit.
Yeah.
What's your VR machine, Heath? Luke?
It's garbage now. It's apparently garbage.
It is like you bought into their fucking walled garden, and even you can't get into this shit. It's so ridiculous.
Mm.
They are
it's not like it's exclusive to Oculus. It is exclusive to this brand new device that they are putting out. It's not even out yet. I don't think it's out yet, right?
The Toy 2, yeah, I think the 2's out.
Is it?
I think so.
Anyway, it is out.
It's
yes,
fine.
you're right. Anyway, but like you can't play on the Oculus Quest 1. You can't play it on Oculus Rift S or Rift. Like, VR is such a niche market as it is, and it was such a hard it's hard to get this stuff. There's limited supply of it still.
It's
And they're
ironic that we were talking about, like, oh, why isn't NHL on PC? And I'm like, oh, well, the market mustn't be there. Meanwhile, Capcom was like, oh, let's give it to the smallest market fucking possible.
Yeah.
Right? It's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a market. You have to have a Quest 2 to be able to play this shit. So fucking dumb. It's going to get pirated. It's going to get fucking pirated immediately. People are cracking Quest games all the fucking time. Like, and you know what? I'm going to say it. They fucking deserve it. Fuck them.
I'm looking now. So the latest Steam hardware survey, March 2021, which is last month. The VR headset, the most popular VR headset at the moment is the Oculus Quest 2 at 24%, followed by the Oculus Rift S at 20.96%. So at this stage, Oculus is, I'm just even looking further down, Oculus Quest has 5%, Oculus Rift is not worth mentioning. All right, so if you were to look at this, you would say that Oculus owns 50% of the market in VR headsets, and they're only allowing 24% of their market on Steam to be able to play this game because they want to sell more units of it. That's shit for the people that have tried to support, VR in general, because it is such a hard market to get into. Like, you're limiting the audience that can play it in an area where there's not really that much to play already. I think it's a stupid idea. It's so dumb. I hope backfires on them. So,
I mean, like, better than that, right? That's 24% of 2.3 total Steam. 2.3% of total Steam users.
Yeah,
that's 24% of that number. What's that? 0.5?
Sure.
Right, like 0.5% of all Steam users. You have, like, you've thrown away fucking like 1.6% of all fucking users to chase after an even smaller percentage. That is fucking ridiculous.
To sell units for the Resident Evil hardcore fans. I mean, at this stage, does it seem to you like Oculus is out of the, like, they are not interested anymore in doing high-end VR devices? They're more interested in doing these separate portable VR kits that you can take on the go, that are cheap, that are, I think they're going, when I just looked it up, I think it's at $300 US.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's their new market. It just feels shitty, right? Like, yeah. And like I said, Oculus Quest games are getting cracked all the fucking time.
Mm.
It's not like these games can't work on other hardware. They just actively restrict it. And yeah, there's like most of the work can be done better by PCs. So yeah, it's super shitty. Very
Yeah.
annoying.
Um,
Grumpy as shit about it.
yeah, because it seems like the hardware is pretty similar. Like it's using similar controllers. Um, they're, I mean, they're pretty similar. The headsets are quite similar, different colors. The displays are slightly not as good on the new Quest because I guess they're you know you're not using PC hardware. You're using this portable hardware, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do this stuff. You know, and you're limited in terms of how much storage you've got on this device. I don't know. It seems weird to go down a niche route and be like, hey, we're going to make it even more harder for people to get into this thing and alienate like a certain audience.
Yeah.
I think it's dumb. Anyway, all right, let's move on to some more Resident Evil news. We've got Dead by Daylight is getting a Resident Evil chapter coming in June, which they released a teaser for this. Did you get a chance to check it out at all? They didn't really reveal much at this stage.
No, yeah, I saw the announcement, but I don't really get a good idea of what they're doing with it.
Yeah, it could be anything.
I guess you can sort of, you know, make some educated guesses, right?
Yeah, I saw people being like, it could be the tall lady, and I'm like, I don't think it's the tall lady. I think that they want to keep that disconnected as far as possible. It's going to be some sort of classic Resident Evil, whether it's like a survivor like Chris or
Yeah.
like Jill, look at like the old style looking, and then maybe I don't know the enemies. Nemesis, is that the dude with the big dude with the yeah, maybe something like that, or maybe just generic zombie. I don't see them. I don't see them going the new Resident Evil stuff. That would be. I mean, that'd be cool, but I don't think they want that there.
Yeah. No way.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all a bit too fresh, right? And that wouldn't draw people in. They're clearly nostalgia baiting with their VR moves and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
Resident Evil 2 remake isn't that far behind. Like they might do. I reckon Mr. X, whatever the fuck his name is, that big fuck.
Is that his name? Who's Nemesis?
Nemesis is from 3. They might do, if they're doing a remake of 3, they might be more inclined to do Nemesis, but I reckon Mr. X is probably the goal.
Is that to do with the hat?
Yeah.
Okay, that's who I was thinking of. Because he was in 2 recently, right? He was in the reboot. He was in 1, I think, and 2. That is who I would assume it is. So, all right. Next up, we've got some Call of Duty Warzone news. This is happening as we speak. Verdansk got nuked out of the sky. Call of Duty is doing a rolling timed event set up in 4 separate events across the next day and also. First one and the second one have already come and gone. The first one was basically a very limited time event where I guess it played out very similar to the Halloween event where when people died, they got turned into zombies.
Yep.
And then they were able to attack the humans. And I guess this is the thing that people were speculating all along, right? They've been doing this long, drawn-out, story-driven event where the idea was that Verdansk was going to be overrun by zombies at some stage, and then the place was probably going to get nuked. And that is exactly what happened. I mean, we might have even talked about it last year or something. Anyway, did you get a chance to check any of this out at all yet?
No, I tried.
Yeah.
And between the servers booting me out every time I try to log in, When I finally did get in, it told me I needed to update my game. I had to kill BattleNet and then restart it multiple times to actually get it to download the update because it wouldn't.
Right.
There was no update for it, which I assume is again server related. It got to 99% and hung on 99% of the download. When I restarted, it started all over again. Did it again, but this time when I restarted it, it had done it. And then when I tried to get in, it wouldn't let me in. So no, I haven't checked it out. I believe it's over. It's gone
Yeah,
forever,
I
so.
watched it on Twitch because I
Yeah.
wasn't interested in playing it.
Yep.
So I watched a bunch of it on Twitch. The second event was something to do with the other map, which is called, help me out.
Resurgence. Right?
Let's go with that.
Rebirth Island.
Rebirth Island. Yep. Rebirth Island is it's been turned to like a nighttime map. A pop-up comes up and says, I think it says like 15 minutes or like a couple of minutes after the events on Verdansk, and then it plays out. From what I understand, influencers were given like codes, and it seems like there are some doors that are spread out throughout that map, and they'll be able to use these codes to get into those doors. I don't know what's happened since then. This could be a tomorrow thing. I'm assuming
maybe. I don't know.
Tomorrow they put the codes in, something happens, and then we get the new map on the fourth event. So that would be
The fourth event.
Well, there's 4 events lined up, right?
Right.
We've got the first one and the second one today that have happened. The third one, I think, will be the one where they can open the doors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then the fourth one will be the new, maybe the new map or something. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll talk about it next week. We'll figure it out. Anyway, it's a cool little, transition.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Haven't been much played.
No. Let's talk about the next one here, which is interesting. Overwatch's game director, Jeff Kaplan, has left Blizzard. He is also the game director for Overwatch 2, which was announced at BlizzCon, not the last one, the one before. In his place, the assistant game director, Aaron Keller, will become the new game director. Jeff Kaplan's been there for nearly 20 years. He's worked on games such as Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, for quite a while. He was part of the Titan team, which was cancelled at some stage, and then went on to be the lead designer and game director of Overwatch. And he's sort of been the face, right, of Overwatch. He's always out there giving updates whenever something needs to be rolled out. Is this a surprise? Is something going on here? What is it telling you? What's your gut feeling?
Yeah, maybe like it's a pretty big move. So either Jeff's just generally had enough of how Overwatch is going, or I don't know, maybe he's been pushed out because Overwatch is dying, and it's dying a very slow and protracted death, with not much hope in sight, right?
Mhm.
Like Overwatch 2 is so fucking far away, and there's nothing going for Overwatch. So maybe just, I don't know, maybe he's been pushed out because they can't justify his salary anymore, right? 19 years. He would have quite the package. So maybe it's business related.
So you don't think this is a creative differences issue with him and the heads?
I think there's a chance that I think the cynical read would be that he doesn't want them to, I don't know, they want to make it microtransactions or some shit, but I don't think so. It doesn't seem likely. They know that the Overwatch formula works, right? Because it worked really well. I think it's very easy to think that greed overwhelms all, but yeah, I honestly think that risk management overwhelms greed every single time, and risk management would not lead to a situation where they would want to get rid of Jeff to implement some sort of hyper greedy DLC system if they know that Overwatch generally works. I don't think so, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's certainly a read on it.
I mean, the other thing it could be is I mean, this game was supposed to be out, right, at some stage?
Yeah.
Right. What if there was another update and they were like, it ain't even this year. It's like next year.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Yeah.
all right, well, we need someone to
gotta go.
tighten things up.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're speculating
Definitely
a lot.
possible. Well, yeah, but that's because there's not much to know, right? There's no fucking Overwatch news, and there hasn't been fucking yonked. So, yeah, it is what it is.
All right. Next up, we've got some Days Gone news. So last week, I don't know if you talked about this. I can't even remember.
We didn't.
I sent you guys a link because I was listening to the car when it was live happening. David Jaffe, the creator of God of War and Twisted Metal, and Drawn to Death, is that the name of it? I think it was that's what it's called. Was interviewing one of the leads on Days Gone, and it was just like some really juicy stuff. This is like just after all the stuff had come out from I think it was Jason Schreier wrote in relation to what was going on at Sony. And then I think he must have already been lined up for this interview, but it was just like the next day or the day after. And he was talking he was openly talking about like Days Gone 2 was in the works up until the end of last year. Like we were doing it, and this is what was happening. But I guess it sounded like that he doesn't know, but he left the project. It sounds like it was cancelled, something like that. And he was just openly talking about it. I thought that was fascinating, just from a pure standpoint of usually when people leave those types of companies, they are signing NDAs, and they are not allowed to talk about that sort of stuff. Like, but I guess he had free reign to do it all, or he's in a lot of trouble. He seemed to be on the side of like he's got no gripes against Sony or anything like that. He just felt like it was time to leave. Anyway, I thought that stuff was really interesting. I listened to quite a bit of it. And then a week later, we've got the writer and game director John Garvin once again talking to David Jaffe on his YouTube stream, I guess he does, about what happened in relation to that game. I've not listened to it at this stage. I don't know if you have at all.
No, I've read all of the transcripts, but I didn't listen to it.
So I guess the piece of information we'll talk about here is a quote that came out of it, which was picked up. It says, this is in relation to, I guess, what happened to Days Gone in terms of the sequel being cancelled and or being rejigged, whatever's going on there. And he said, I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might piss off some of them. If you love a game, buy it at the full fucking price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, yeah, I got that on sale, or I got that through the PlayStation Plus store. He then went on to say, like, don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch. It's like God of War got whatever number, millions of sales at launch, and, Days Gone didn't. Just speaking for me personally, as a developer, I don't work for Sony. I don't know what the numbers are. A couple of things there. Comparing God of War to Days Gone in terms of launch numbers.
I assume it was because he was talking to Jaffe. Jaffe has history with it, not for any other reason. I assume it's just a common point between the two.
Sure.
Because I don't think he has any illusions about the scope and magnitude of what Days Gone was going to achieve versus a game like God of War.
But from all accounts, like
Yep.
Days Gone apparently didn't sell bad. It did fine. It was from what they were saying in the other interview, it was a critical reception that sort of killed the sequel. The game was a 7.5 or something. I don't even know at this stage what it was on Metacritic. But it wasn't in terms of sales numbers. It was more or less how it was perceived by the media.
Uh,
It was a 7.1.
well, I don't think it scored well. I don't think it sold well either. I think it sold fine. I think
I
they
don't
probably
think that's
would've-
true. I think it was like Sony was out there saying it was their biggest new IP or something. I thought that's how I remember it going.
Really.
I'm just trying to see if I can find anything. I mean, it says here, this is off their Wikipedia page. According to the game director Jeff Ross, Days Gone sold more copies than all of Ben's studio's previous games combined. It was the 7th highest debut in sales for a Sony published title. It was the 19th best-selling game in 2019.
That's pretty good.
It went on to surpass the lifetime sales of God of War and The Last Guardian in Japan. I don't know. I'm just sort of combing through some things here, but
Well,
I
I
don't-
don't know. I didn't. Yeah, that's a big deal,
hmm.
right? I thought he got stitched up a little bit, because like I can understand his perspective,
Sure.
right? It got framed a little bit, like he was salty that people were buying his game but not paying full price for it. But that's not really like he was. It seemed like he was salty at the idea that a sequel didn't get to happen because it didn't sell well enough to earn one.
Or it didn't make the money to earn it.
Yeah, it didn't make the money required to earn it. That's all he was saying. It wasn't saying, fuck people who buy games on sale. More, fuck the system that leads to a situation where you need to reach certain thresholds. It didn't review very well. I didn't enjoy it. I've heard it's been
I'm gonna go back and play it.
greatly improved.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'd never found anything interesting in it. I thought the story was dull. The storytelling was extremely dull. The characters were unlikable. I cannot imagine having to do that fucking opening sequence again where you've got to fucking ride on the bike really slowly.
Really slowly, yeah.
And the survival mechanics were underbaked. Like there was a lot that I didn't enjoy about it.
Sure.
That probably could have been improved in a sequel.
Mhm.
And so I suppose it's a shame. However, there's no guarantee that it would have been, and so
I guess
can't lament.
there's no guarantee the sequel's dead. Like, I think their version of a sequel is possibly dead, but like games are expensive. If you're making these type of AAA games, you don't normally go out and like, all right, well, I'm making one and we're good, like we're done. There's generally like you go back and you do something. You've invested all this time and money on creating engines, creating mechanics, and creating artwork and story, and to just leave it is a bold strategy.
Yeah, like it could always be repurposed in some other way, but yeah, I don't think we'll see a sequel.
Yeah,
not for a while.
Is it the case of like maybe not just the game being like, I'm not gonna say the game's bad. Seven's not a bad game. It is in some people, above average, something like that. But to like Sony putting out a game where you are in a post-apocalyptic world surrounded by zombies, and then their other game is a post-apocalyptic game with with you being surrounded by zombies, like were they just like, we only need one of these, let's just...
That would be more plausible. And it's not like they can't use that engine that they put together and developed up
something else.
What about a siphon filter game?
I mean, that's these guys, right? That was Ben, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, he talked about it, about how pirated the PSP version was. Although,
Right.
yeah, like the idea that 200,000 people pirated uh, Siphon Filter on PSP doesn't directly translate to 200,000 missed sales, and that is definitely a mistake that he made. But yeah,
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, like some of the stuff that's coming out about this, the PlayStation, what's going on behind the scenes, definitely has me thinking that like Xbox has just gone so gung ho over buying studios and like getting content. Like, what does PlayStation have coming up? If they're like, are they just going to rely on Naughty Dog to make these giant blockbuster games and then Spider-Man and like what else have they got in the pipeline? The Horizon Zero Dawn sequel and
I reckon that's fucking hilarious because at least the Sony studios are actually putting fucking games out. What the fuck is Microsoft? What of all their
well, that's what I'm
studio
saying.
purchases?
The end of the like, what have they got at the end of the cycle in like 3 years' time? If the next year we've got this next God of War game, we've got Horizon, we've got another Spider-Man game coming.
On paper, still more than what Microsoft has done, right? Like
Right,
that's
yeah.
the thing, right? Like, yeah.
All right, let's move on here.
Yeah, crazy to speculate in Microsoft's favor when the only thing that they were going to put out got delayed until late 2021 or whenever the fuck Halo's coming out. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next.
The next one is BioShock related news. This is some job listings going off the next BioShock game, pointing to it being an open world game.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them going around. There's positions for writers and designers and all sorts of like programmer roles. There's tons of them. But basically, there's a lot of wording in there talking about like crowd systems and more open branching story driven things and like they specifically use the term open world setting. So I guess you kind of look at this in terms of a game like the Bethesda games, like a Fallout or a Skyrim, like not like Assassin's Creed. Like I don't think we're gonna see a third person
Right.
BioShock game. I mean, that'd surprise the heck out of me. But I'm thinking more like a first person RPG, or maybe less on the RPG elements. I don't know. What are you thinking about this? Like the move from more of a linear story driven game to something a bit more open.
I don't know that we are necessarily moving to something all that open. I think that if you wanted to do something like, say, Prey,
Sure,
right? With its large areas,
like a hub
and hub worlds, then you would require someone with that experience with managing that sort of stuff, while still doing a shock style game. And I think that's probably what we can expect, because Prey was basically a fucking a shock game, right?
Yeah.
And I think if Prey had crowds of people, then it would resemble what we understand as a open world game, while still basically being a what do they call it, immersive sim, right? It would still be an immersive sim, which is what the shock games are.
Would you be surprised
while having open world game elements?
Yeah. Would you be surprised if the next BioShock was a space game, like in a space station? Like, is that the obvious next step?
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. I think I would be surprised.
Or would you be more surprised if they went back to Rapture, but it's like a prequel or something like that?
See, now that wouldn't surprise me. That would be, I reckon that'd be more likely than a space game. Right? If this rumor of it being an open world game had more meat and it wound up being an open world game as opposed to a real shot game, then I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. But space, I could see going to space, I suppose. I guess my version of events is extremely optimistic. And the version of events where they go to a prequel rapture is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. Was BioShock 2 a prequel? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't really remember the story of BioShock 2. I remember the gameplay. I thought it was better than BioShock 1, but I remember the story. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's move on from that. Next up, we've got one that you put down. It says free-to-play games are now no longer required for Xbox Live to play online. So this is your Xbox, I guess previously like Xbox Gold. You pay for your online subscription, and you'd have to play online games, whether it's like Call of Duty or Fortnite or FIFA. But now they're getting rid of the live part for free-to-play games like Fortnite or I guess Call of Duty Warzone, or what else is there that's free that's big?
Apex Legends.
Right.
There's a whole list on the Xbox site, which is pretty interesting. Killer Instinct's in there, Path of Exile.
Killer Instinct's pretty big.
Yeah. World of Tanks. I've played that on Xbox a couple of times. It actually works pretty well. Like there's a pretty big list. Doritos Crash Course, obviously, one of the greatest games of all time. Destiny 2, which is on Game Pass and now no longer needs Xbox Live at all, although you would have Xbox Live if you had Game Pass. So, bit of a tricky one there, but yeah, it's a fairly decent list. It's just a good gesture, I think.
Yeah.
We only had one thing left, but I was doing my pee-pee dance, so
I had to go too, don't worry about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So speaking of good gestures, Sony is looking to announce some sort of PlayStation Plus Video Pass subscription. This comes from VGC, Video Game Chronicles, spotted that on the Sony official PlayStation website, which was on the Polish version, had a splash page that read a new benefit available for a limited time on PlayStation Plus. PS Plus Video Pass is a trial service active from the 22nd of the 4th, 2021 until the 22nd of the 4th, 2022. This subscription benefit is available to PS Plus users in Poland. So that is, I guess, tomorrow, I'm assuming, if they're going off dates, but it's got a listing of I guess Sony obviously has a bunch of movie studios and entertainment services. So I guess the films that they've got listed here are things like Venom, Zombieland, Vin Diesel's Bloodshot, which apparently is amazing. Some high caliber stuff. This comes following Sony last month announcing that the PlayStation Store would no longer be offering TV and movie content for purchase or rental. Instead, it sounds like they're moving along to some sort of video pass subscription service, a la Netflix or Hulu or anything like that. But it sounds like it's going to be tied to PlayStation Plus. Is this something that, I mean, it comes to other parts of the world, which you would assume so. Is this to add more sort of value to PlayStation Plus? Like they're looking for ways to compete with Game Pass at this stage, right?
That's exactly it, right? And I think it does that job quite well. I suppose the other thing is that we're in a bit of a game drought. So there's a little bit of a dearth of games that they can use as a value add for PlayStation Plus, which they've always done. So maybe they'll use this to sort of make up for the absence in that meantime, which I think is a good idea. It's a good gesture if it comes through. I don't none of the movies you said are movies I want to watch, but
I mean, they could, like, what are we talking about months from now when they've got do we see like Spider-Man on there? Do we see Uncharted?
That'd be cool.
Or is that because Netflix just signed a deal with Sony to be the streaming rights? So does that sort of cut into what they can show on
maybe.
there? Or
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't, but
otherwise, this is sort of a bust thing. Maybe could be some good stuff on there, but
yeah.
I guess we'll wait and see, right? Tomorrow, by the sounds of it. Anyway, that is
Very true.
the news. Have we got anything else we can talk about? Questions or any other news things you wanted to mention?
Do we have any questions? Praetorian writes, has anyone used this site for game... I'm not reading that out. Praetorian has misunderstood the concept of the questions channel. Morkai very helpfully answered him, but did not use a question mark in his answer, and I'm not reading that out either.
Yeah, so
we don't have any
banned.
questions. Morkai's banned, not Praetorian.
He used the question mark. He asked the question.
Very true, very true. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's wrap things up here. You can find the Gap or whatever we decide to call this podcast moving forward on iTunes, Android, Windows Store, Spotify, YouTube, all the places you get podcasts from. Please, if you do have a moment, rate and review the show. Helps other people find us. You can find us on social media, facebook.com/GA podcast, twitter.com/GA podcast. You can watch the podcast in video format, the gapodcast.com/YouTube. I forgot to upload the last one that I was on before I left. It looks like.
Oh, okay. So I've got some time.
You've got some time. I thought I rendered it. I didn't even render it. So unless something broke, but we'll see. Anyway, you can generally go over and watch it on there if you'd like to. Our faces on here. You can also go to our Discord page if you'd like to leave any questions or play games with people. The gapodcast.com/Discord. Jump in there, socialize. Have a good time. It's usually going off every day. If you want to find any of those links, you can go to our website, thegapodcast.com. Check out all podcast episodes, read some features Joab writes. Otherwise, that is all thanks to our Patreon members who help support the show. You can go to patreon.com/thegapodcast, become a recurring monthly member, help us pay the bills, help us keep the podcast going and the website running. So thank you, everyone that does that every month. We greatly appreciate your support.
You're the best.
Anything you'd like to pimp out this week you've been working on?
If you didn't check it out last week, my preview of The Elder Scrolls Blackwood is up on Stevivor.com. Go and have a look at that. It's a pretty good one. And if you didn't check it out last week, my write-up of skill-based matchmaking and why it's bad in Call of Duty is on the gapodcast.com or on my YouTube at Joby Jojo now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Check me out on Twitter at Joby Jojo. That's about it.
Yeah, you can find me twitter.com/Luke Lawrie, Lawrie, and that is it for this week. I don't know what we're talking about next week. Returnal is apparently out next week, but I don't know if we'll have it by then. The previews dropped while we've been recording. Everybody's going bonkers for this game.
Which is
surprising.
Yeah,
because I did think it looked very good, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. It's definitely piqued my interest, so we will. At this stage, I'm playing that game, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening to my show, and we might see Joab next week. We'll see what happens.
Love you. Bye.